might have to watch to make sure we catch their votes and everything. So with that in mind, the next thing on the agenda will be the Pledge of Allegiance. I suppose I better call the meeting to order first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Supervisor Powers.
Creator of all things, lover of all humankind, in giving us dominion over the things on earth, you made us fellow workers in our creation. Give us wisdom and reverence so to use the resources of nature that no one may suffer from our abuse of them, and that generations yet to come may continue to enjoy your bounty. Amen.
At this time, anyone would like to adopt the agenda? Please, Mr. Supervisor Albrecht. Other than the new amendments, we have nothing really other than what's the regular part is, so. So do a motion is made and second for the approval of this morning's agenda, and then with the addition of the amendments will be added in. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Carried. This time, anyone from the public wish to go ahead and speak to anything on the board from Winnebago County pertaining to them, you will have 2 minutes. State your name and address, and we'll get you right on here. Just hold on. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Tina Hafman. I live at 1307 Washington Avenue. I'm here to encourage a reinstatement of the Policy and Equity Coordinator position that I see was taken out of the budget. I was concerned because over the summer, and I actually don't know where you are with this, but over the summer it looked like you were also having to disband the Diversity Affairs Commission. So those two things together makes it look like Winnebago County is not paying adequate attention to diversity and equity. Unless we can assure that opportunities and gains are shared equitably among citizens, we won't have strong ongoing economic growth. Inequality among ethnic groups, women, LGBTQ, and people with disabilities hinders prosperity for all and fuels the need for safety nets in lieu of self-empowerment. To back away from diversity commissions and positions stating that the effort's too divisive or that their work cannot be political seems to be a bit of a cop-out. I mean, political is not the same as partisan. The county board is a political entity, and you all raised your hands and said, I want to be part of that political entity, and so I am a county supervisor representing my constituents. Lots of counties and municipalities in Oshkosh and across the country have diversity commissions or positions, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We could look to see what others are doing that is working well for them. I think it's the obligation of entities such as the county board and public servants such as yourselves to make sound strategy and practices that will ensure a sustainable, healthy community for an increasingly diverse population. I know that sometimes I hear, well, Winnebago County is not very diverse, but you know, it is getting there, and that is the way of things. Eliminating user-friendly avenues to have valid and transparent conversations about diversity is not acceptable. Please consider reinstating the policy and equity position for 2023. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board at this time? State your name and address, please.
Good morning. My name is Connie Conitz, and I live at 516 Riverway in Menasha. I am commenting on the proposal to remove the Policy and Equity Coordinator position from the Health
Could you
Department.
stand closer to the mic, please? Thank you.
I'm disappointed in the recent trends that signal that our county is stepping back from its work to address diversity, equity, and inclusion. All members of organizations need to be more cross-culturally competent in an increasing global world. Many organizations, including other municipal and county governments, have been active in addressing these goals for several years. And organizations who have been working tell us that it's an asset and it enriches the board, the work of this county, and our community. Communities are changing, and we need to better understand what people need and identify the obstacles that exist in our policies, laws, and elsewhere in our community that keep people from being able to access opportunities that should be available to everyone. I've heard comments that it's hard and it's been divisive. It can be helpful to bring in a professional trainer to help better understand how past policies throughout the whole United States of housing, lending, employment, education, and rules within society that have limited access to opportunity. It'll also be important to review the study once completed of how the pandemic impacted marginal communities in our area. Once there's a better understanding of the past, it's possible to create better policy and enrich the work of our county and community. There is a learning curve to this, and patience is needed, and professionalism and respect for one another. I urge that the Policy and Equity Coordinator of the Health Department remain in the budget. I urge that the board find many ways that you can move forward in helping our county to address diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one option may be to use some of the ARPA funds to provide a series of trainings for members of the board and other county board employees. And I urge you to keep a focus on this important work. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to talk to the? State your name and address, please.
Hi, Deb Martin, 164 Wildwood Drive, Oshkosh. I also urge that we make sure that we leave this position of the Policy and Equity Coordinator in the Health Department. During the time of the pandemic, we saw what a gem of a health department we have, and that position has been part of it, so I hope that you do vote to keep that included. I come from a position of privilege. I have learned so much in the last year since I retired to Oshkosh about people who don't have that privilege. I have a car, I can get anywhere I want. Lots of people that live here can't. I had no idea the struggle with housing, because I'm a white woman. It was easy for me to get an apartment when I moved here, but many can't. And so this position helps those of us, especially those of us with privilege, understand the challenges of living in Winnebago County. There are many, and they're not blaming anyone, but just that better understanding when you, as an elected public official, are making a decision, that you have a place to kind of check that out. Is that including? Is it equitable? Riding the bus. I work with a gentleman who's blind. I never even considered what that must be like for him to get to the right bus stop and so on, just as an example. Anyway, I thank you for your service to our county. And yes, it will involve discussion, and there will be disagreements, but that's part of being on a county board and any other group like this, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the county board? Anyone else in the public wish to address the county board?
Yep, I'm on Zoom. I'd
Just
like to
hold
address
on.
the county
Just-
board.
Just hold on, we'll get to you. Anyone else out in the audience wish to address the county board? Now we have a person on Zoom. If you'll state your name and address, please.
Good morning. My name is Kate Hancock Cook. I live at 216 Bosworth Court in Neenah. And I'm also here to ask you to continue to support the diversity affairs and equity and public policy position at the health department. I can't state it as well as the three previous speakers stated, so I won't hold you for the full 2 minutes. I will simply say that it is important for maintaining and expanding our workforce in Winnebago County. I know that we have both a brain drain and a shortage of qualified workers. I worked at a large corporation here in Neenah, and one of the challenges we had was attracting qualified, diverse workforce. And if we don't pay attention to this in Winnebago County, we are going to lose out on qualified workers who might want to move here, but would choose maybe a neighboring county that is more open, diverse, and inclusive. This is something that just states, it's like a position statement for what our county stands for. And we need to be overt in our welcoming stance for people of different backgrounds and ethnicities and abilities. So that I hope that you will continue to maintain this position and understand that it helps all of us in Winnebago County as we become more diverse. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the county board on Zoom or in public? Anyone else wishing to address the county board? Not hearing any, we will, and seeing no lights on, we'll close that part of the meeting. Next up will be committee, commissions, and boards. Anyone have anything from committee, commissions, and boards? Not seeing any lights on. We'll go right to my report, which is fairly small today. Supervisor Youngquist has been asked to be excused. She is at work, so she's the only one. Everyone else is on Zoom or here in person, mainly in person. All right, the next thing I'd just like to talk about for those of you that have been here at years past is that we always had this annual government day, was usually on Wednesday. Then we would go ahead and we'd join all the people. You've got a slip on it already, but I just want to say that it's always been this day. Then we'd go VFW and join in a meal and join in with all the kids and this and that. If you want to go tomorrow, make sure and read this. It'll all be held tomorrow. There won't be nothing to do with the board. You can meet with them, eat with them and everything, but there will be nothing in this room with them. So it'll be on November 3rd, so that'll be tomorrow. So make sure and read that article, and if you want to take part in it and go ahead and be with students in your area, make sure and go. It will come out yesterday or the day before. They claim they did not get this. I don't know who handed these out for the November 3rd.
Oh, I did.
Some of them said they didn't get them here in the front row.
Oh, I thought I passed them out to everybody. I'll get
Did
copies.
everyone get these other than this front row? Everyone else get them? Okay, she will take care of that and they will be passed out. She's allowed one mistake in 40-some years, so just, if she didn't get them. So she'll pass them out, make sure that she'll get them. But just read it all. It tells everything on the front and back about it, the times and all that, if you wish to be with kids from your area or whatever. It's a great thing. We always used to take part in the mock board meeting and everything else, but they've changed it somewhat, changing it up hopefully this year so they get more kids. Whether they will or not, I don't know, but just so you're all aware of that. Second big thing I have is we've made it through the book. That was the easy part, and now we've got some big challenges. You will see in the yellow papers that are being handed out, there's going to be millions of dollars that will be spent or deleted. So this is where we were elected to take this part in from the county board, or for the county, for our residents of the whole county, not just your area, but of the whole county, to make sure that what you really believe strong, that we're doing the right thing. This is probably one of the biggest things that you're going to be doing, because there's going to be, like I said, millions of dollars, one way or the other, is going to be going here. Some things we think maybe should be granted, but is it a privilege, something that we want, or something we need? And the other thing I ask when you're looking at something, make sure that you're looking not just at the person or whatever, but on the value of what it is. Not by names or anything like that, but on the value of the spot that we're talking about. Some of us get hung up on names and we're worried about that, and we got to remember. So I have some questions coming to me. Supervisor Norton.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I was wondering what is the present tax rate and how much, I've always asked this question, how much do we have to raise or spend to affect that by 1 penny? We always were given like a certain amount and that'll raise the tax rate by a penny or lower it on this, and usually got that from the finance director.
We'll have to ask the finance director when he gets done here.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, is IT here or tablets are not working?
No, they're not. I have a question on the floor, Supervisor Eisen, for Finance Director.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to ask your question again, Supervisor?
My question is with the current tax rate, and specifically, how much would we have to raise or spend specifically amount to either raise that by a penny or raise that by a penny? Because I've always asked that, and usually the finance director gave it to us.
I'll have to get you that number.
He'll get that number and come back to you on that, Supervisor. Supervisor Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will we have an opportunity to ask department heads questions about how these changes would influence or affect what they do or their departments?
Some of them are here. If you go ahead and you let Clerk Ertmer know, maybe she can get that department here. Clerk Ertmer, if they have questions of department heads, can you call them to make sure they're here? So if you have one, do you have one specific you would like to have here at this time?
Okay, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us who it is?
The Mr. View, if that's his name, from UW
Okay, I
Extension.
believe he was going to be here anyways. Okay. Okay, he's in different counties, so he
Even
might
if-
not be able to be here.
Even if he can zoom in, that would be great.
Okay,
Thank you.
If you can
And
get him
I'll
to
let you
zoom
know
in,
if there's
Sue.
anyone else.
okay.
We are having trouble with our iPads, though. I cannot get to the
They have
screen.
called IT,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Was there someone else besides Mr. View? Was there someone else? You're getting a hold of all of them? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry if I missed it. Are there additional amendments being they're still coming? Because I didn't see one that I had submitted.
There are 16 right now, so if you don't have 16 on your table, there's still some coming. And you can go ahead and you can bring them in right up until adjournment. Once we adjourn, that'll be the end of it. So if you see one when you take a break, you still want to get it in, you can still get it in.
Please note 5 are being printed now. There were 11 printed, there were not.
Thank
So you
you.
have 5 more coming. Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a point of personal privilege. Could we request a recess so that we could read and digest these amendments?
Yes, I will right after when I'm done with mine.
Thank you.
Go. Okay, Supervisor Powers, did you have a question? Your name got cleared off here.
I did, but since you said you're going to have a recess for us to discuss these things, I'll wait till then.
Okay. So other than that, like I said, big decision day. Some of you might just take it really lightly, but I think that you should. I am going to, unless there is any other questions, we'll adjourn until 9 o'clock. I know that's only 15 minutes, suggest a lot, but you can get reading in so 9 o'clock, and then we'll start on all of these. Hopefully the rest will be in. Hopefully IT will be here for those of you that your things aren't working.
Unless I'm reading this wrong, this is not what we agreed to.
As of right now, we're standing in recess until
Reduce the scholarship fund, and 9,000, which would reduce
9
the
o'clock.
unassigned general fund. We agreed that we were.
The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly.
Mr. Chairman, my open meeting software isn't working from my iPad, and I was just wondering if I should be voice voting today or if they're going to try to set that up. I just wanted to let you know. I emailed the clerk as well.
If you want to do it by email, we will not show it up on the screen, I promise.
No,
The girls
I
did promise, so.
I let the clerk know via email that my software isn't working. I can voice vote, that's fine. I was just wondering if you would prefer me to try to get the software to work.
Are the iPads working yet? Right.
From,
I'm asking if, okay, so none of the iPads are working yet. Okay, so IT is being called. So Supervisor Flo,
Okay,
if you just kind of want to watch it, but IT is on,
Yeah.
supposedly on its way.
okay, I can voice vote if need be. That's okay.
Thank you. Supervisor Flom, you're going to have to voice vote, though, when it comes time.
That's okay. I'm completely fine with voice voting. I didn't mean to make any confusion with the email. I was just saying I emailed the clerks to let them know my software wasn't working. That was all.
Okay? Is that okay, Madam Clerk? Madam Clerk, is that okay? Yes. Madam Clerk said that is fine.
Thank you, sir.
The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume
It's
shortly.
supposedly working now, at least on one side of the room. Is everyone's working now? Okay. One should be working. Supervisor Flom, if you can hear me.
The Winnebago County
the
Board
iPads
is
are
currently in
working.
a break. For a schedule of all
Yours won't work
GovTV
from home,
programming,
okay.
visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live
Yeah,
and on
sorry,
demand
Mr.
at
Chairman. Yeah, I'll be on the
oshkoshmedia.org
road, so
and
that's
radio
okay. I can voice
simulcast on
vote.
Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV
Finance
programming,
Director
visit
does
our
have an
website at
answer, I believe, for
oshkoshmedia.org.
Supervisor
Please
Norton
stay
at
with
this
us.
time.
Coverage will resume shortly.
Yes, for our operating levy, a 1 cent increase on the mill rate would equate to $168,000 in budget room.
Okay, being 9:01, we will start for the resolution. We'll start with resolution number 126.
Recording in progress.
126-10-2022. Amendment 1, increase the facilities and property management professional services budget by $300,000 to conduct a countywide building condition assessment study. Supervisor Buck, would you like to talk about this? And where are you here?
Okay, and I'll comment on this, but I move for approval of resolution number 126-10-2022. Amendment.
Motion and seconded by Supervisor Challenger.
A few things on this. This has been something that facilities has talked about, I would say going back to maybe 2018, and maybe Chairman Egan, those have been on facilities longer than that, would know, even if it goes back further than that. In years past, the department heads had met with the chairman of the committees and the county executive. That did not happen this year. I would assure you that if it did, this would have been the first question that I would have asked, that this would have been included in the facilities budget. No offense to Director Elder, but he is not a professional in every aspect of roofing, sheet metal, siding, plumbing, and those kinds of things. So right now, what's happening in the county, and if those of you who have Demand Star, which is the county's website or bidding procurement, would have seen yesterday that we will be refinishing one of the judges' chambers. So to that point, I would say what this study will include will be prioritizing wants and needs. Right now, we kind of have, I would say, maybe willy-nilly isn't the right word, but we're kind of all over the board on what projects we're deciding to do. I believe having a consultant, a third party come in rather than bureaucrats decide what construction projects we're going to do will be a benefit to the county and give us a good look ahead to decide X building needs a roof done this year, it's in bad shape, this building needs a windows done because they're not energy efficient, that kind of stuff. That's kind of how this came to be. So I'm in full approval of this. I think this is going to be a good benefit to the county for the number of years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Buck, do you have, if this is approved, is there a time frame for getting this consultant to give a report, or is it just going to sit on the shelf for a couple of years?
Good question. Supervisor Fari, I believe it, and Director Elder is in the back, I believe there's an RFP for this going out to bid for a few folks, and maybe he can speak on the number of folks that have already, entertained this, or I don't know if...
Well, in essence, it's actively being pursued, you're just waiting for the funding.
That is correct, sir.
That takes care of my question. Thank you.
Supervisor Bender.
I would just like to say I will be supporting this, and if we'd have had this in place a few years back, we would have known the highway department needs basically $10 to $15 million worth of work. We would know that there's 3 soccer shelters that basically should be in our capital improvement plan. We have no idea what projects we're gonna do in the next, we have a capital improvement plan, but we have other projects that basically need to be done, but we don't have the money to do them. So we need somebody to come in like a consultant to prioritize what we should be doing so that we can know how much money we need to budget and if we can even afford to do them all. I don't know how we do this. I mean, I've had rental properties my whole life, and I've always known how long the roof was gonna last, when I could expect to put that in, when I had to basically remodel a bathroom. I always had those projected costs so that I could base my rent and my money income to be able to take care of the property so that I didn't have a a rundown slum that I expected somebody to live in. And I think we need to do the same thing here. We need to inspect our properties and put them in a priority list. I mean, I was in that highway department. I mean, you got them air makeup units running, you got the wallpaper falling off the conference room. I was embarrassed, you know, and yet you hold meetings in there and conferences, and you look at the way we maintain that building. It's pathetic to think that we did not take care of that. That building's 28 years old, and it's basically totally run down because we didn't want to put any investment in it. So this is definitely something that we need to do, and we need to basically get our buildings up to basically the standard. If we have to borrow more money, we have to borrow the money, but we shouldn't expect people to be living or working in that highway department with them big air makeup units running. The cold storage, the outside of it's full of black mold. It looks terrible.
Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too am going to vote in favor of this. $300,000 could potentially save us millions and millions in the future, and I too was shocked that we had highway department personnel working in a lethal situation, potentially lethal situation with that horrible mold, and we should have caught that a long time ago, and this will do that. Thank you.
Supervisor Ellenberger.
Thank you, Chairman. I am a co-sponsor for this bill because when I was sitting on the Neenah Joint School District, we had a facility study throughout our whole district. That was how we were able to make informed decisions on where we wanted to go next, what we wanted to prioritize, you know, how much those projects, it didn't put a price tag on the project, but it gave us a roundabout idea of what work needed to be done and so forth. It's just a nice way to be able to make these decisions that we're going to be asked to make here in the future. Also, right now, I believe what's going on, since I've been on the board, what I've noticed is there's multiple silos going on with departments. So you have one department here, one department there, and everyone does these facility studies on their buildings within their departments. So this would be an overall unbiased type of uniformed facility study throughout the whole district. Also, I believe that the department head, Elder, he is doing an amazing job, but we've already been told that he's lack of staff right now. I mean, he doesn't have time to do this, even if he was an inspector or what have you for facility study. So I believe this will help him out tremendously also, and it's an unbiased third party that would come in. You know, when you've worked and you see the same building over and over and over, you know, this is a way to bring a whole group in or a third party in to look at our buildings, I hate to use this phrase, but with a fresh new pair of eyes. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Supervisor Buck hit one thing on the head that we all need to think about. This is about wants versus needs. We need, as we saw when we took the tour of the facilities, we need work done on some of our facilities. And the thing is we need to be proactive. We can't be reactive. We're going to see the cost of being reactive with the highway building, which, as we heard from Supervisor Bender, probably will be in the, 8-figure range. And because of that, we also have to step back and realize we're not experts in everything. We can't know everything. We're not elected to have every answer for every question for the county. We're here to find the answers to those questions and the best way to move forward for the county and for the taxpayers. And what we need by having this study is direction. And this will help prioritize what needs work now and what can wait 10 years. Because that's going to help us in budgeting every year. And the smartest way to go forward is to have all of that information, and we're not experts. We can't have that information. But if we get that information from the people who do know how to get that information for us, we're serving our constituents in the best way possible. So I will definitely be supporting this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question, and perhaps I missed it, and don't know exactly who would answer this, but why wasn't this included in the budget? So I don't know if that's a Director Elder or one of the sponsors.
Supervisor Buck, can you answer that for us, please?
Like I said, my understanding that in years past, the department heads would meet with the county executive and that didn't happen this year. So, like I said, we've been talking about this for at least 3 years, maybe longer, and Chairman Egan can maybe chime in on that, but it would have been the first question that I would have asked, is this in the facilities budget? Because this has been the, hot button issue we've been talking about. We need to do this study. We have to prioritize what we're doing here, so that's where it's at. Thank you.
Supervisor Gabbard.
I'm going to support this because, as you all know, and if you don't know it, here's a fact. We don't maintain our buildings. Government doesn't maintain their buildings. We try, but we don't. Director Elder has a roof plan, and he's been following that for roof replacements. The County Highway Department shouldn't be where it is today with the mold issue. This could have been caught more than 10 years ago. But we always put a Band-Aid on something. We also take bids, and sometimes we take the low bid, and the low bid is not good, which is what happened at the County Highway Department. We took the low bid, and we got what we got. There could have been things done in the construction process so that there wouldn't be leaking out there and mold discovered. Too late, too little. So this should have been in facilities budget. I don't know why it wasn't, and I think we should put it in there. We need to have a good look, a feasibility study at all of our buildings. We're not going to be able to afford to bring all of them up to standards right away. But it's embarrassing when people ask you, why didn't you take care of the mold at the County Highway Department if you all knew it was out there? Well, we put some fans in and that kind of settled that down. So it's a lot of money to a taxpayer, that's a lot of money. But if it saves a building or catches a building before it has to be torn down, I think it's a good idea. So I'm going to support this, and I hope you guys do. It's just unfortunate that it had come through as an amendment and it wasn't put in the budget at budget time. So shame on whoever's to blame for that, but today let's move on and support this and get a feasibility study done of all our buildings. Thanks.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to refer to page 45 of the budget. The first 10 amendments amount to a $700,000 ask to reduce the undesignated general fund. The undesignated general fund will be at $29,504,799 at the end of 2023. If we use the $4,344,000 that we're reducing the fund to stay under the levy limits. The question we have to ask ourselves for each of these amendments are coming through, can we afford these projects, or can we afford not to do these projects? And I think that this is, in my estimate, a worthy project, and I think you should consult page 45 as you deliberate. Thank you.
Supervisor Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Apologies right up front for some naive questions for Supervisor Buck and anyone else. I am wondering if this also includes like parking lots and whatever, because, for example, as Mr. Fari mentioned before in another meeting, Supervisor Gabbard, we've been doing feasibility studies for parking lots and other buildings. Is this going to help curb that and stop that and include parking lots as well? Because if not, I am not even opposed to saying up it a little bit more to include all of that?
I don't know what's exactly in there. I would divert that question to Director Elder if he's able to answer that. He put out the RFP.
The direction to the people that are responding to the RFP is to look at the entire facility, which would include grounds, parking lots, buildings, roofs, everything that would be doing there, so that we could get the comprehensive look of what we need.
So then just to follow up, in voting in favor of this, we then really won't need these feasibility studies moving forward. Would that be correct? This would ultimately be a savings.
Ultimately, hopefully, yes.
Thank you.
It would give us a roadmap for our capital improvement plan so that we can set the priorities and get them taken care of.
Supervisor Haran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a couple of points here if I could. We're talking about wanting to care for the employees of Winnebago County. If they are working in an environment where there is mold, that is not taking care of their health. And it seems to me that this would be a way that we invest in the buildings to invest in the personnel who are a part of Winnebago County. That's huge. I want to say, not only did we see it at the highway department, but we saw it at UW in their chemistry lab. And that was known the day those HVACs were put in. We need to take care of the people who work for this county. And this is one of the ways that we can invest in them. Thank you.
You. Not seeing any other discussion. Whoops, I'm sorry. Supervisor Borchardt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at this. Can this be accomplished in 1 year? The total survey, or is there some kind of limitation? It's one thing to approach the money, but can it be done?
Director Elder, can you answer that, please?
That is, I'm asking them to get it done in 6 months. When we get the proposals back from them, they'll be able to tell me whether or not that's a reasonable request. One of the reasons why we don't have this right now is because of, with my staff, to go through 114 buildings that we don't really take care of all of them is a monumental task. A consultant will be able to staff up for this project and work on it solely on this project.
Not seeing any other lights. I'm going to try and do this by voice vote. All those in favor of adding $300,000 to facility and property management signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed say nay. Carried unanimously. Resolution 126-10-2022, Amendment 2, add $172,000 to the 2023 Sheriff's Office budget for the purpose of a building dental suite in Winnebago County Jail and contracting outside dental services on an annual basis. Supervisor Defferding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve a budget resolution amendment number 126-102022.
And that is seconded by Supervisor Challenger.
And I'll keep this brief because I mean I did pass out some packets to all supervisors there, so you should have information in regards to this budget amendment. But if this was 20 years ago, I wouldn't even imagine providing this or putting forward this budget resolution or this amendment. This is certainly a new issue that has been becoming more and more prevalent in not just Winnebago County, but throughout the United States.
And we're starting to see other counties take charge in that. Outagamie County just recently built a dental suite, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. And Walworth County also has that, Milwaukee and Dane County as well. We're starting to see other counties starting to build dental suites inside their jail, specifically to address the opioid crisis. And that's really the framework of why this is going to be, why I would like to have this built. So it would, this would include about 16 hours around 16 hours of labor for dentists to come in per month, 16 hours per month. And if you're part of the county board tour, they did show a room of where the dental suite would be going. So that we would not be adding on to the jail. This is simply renovating an existing room. The sheriff is here if you have any questions, and we'll go from there.
Supervisor Schellinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question either for Supervisor Defferding or the sheriff. We have $81,000 of medical and dental budgeted right now for contractual services. If we don't have a dental suite in the jail now, are we taking people off-site for dental visits?
I believe.
Yes, we are. We do take them off-site. Just to give you a little bit of insight, since the beginning of the year through September 30th, we have taken 19 inmates for dental care. That has cost us a little over $10,000, $10,219. If I could comment a little bit on the whole resolution, my concern is that it's coming from the Jail Improvement Fund, which is not a never-ending fund. I talked about what we use that for.
Excuse me, it's actually not coming from the Jail Improvement Fund?
Well, I believe it is. It's not?
No, it's not. It's from the
it's not.
undesignated.
Okay. Fund balance. Okay. But it will eventually move then to our operating budget. And as you know, we eliminated 3 positions this year in 2023. We eliminated positions the last year. I have no more positions to eliminate. So in order for us to build the studio and then continue to provide 16 hours of service a month for our inmates, we will have to fund that, and you can't ask that we take it out of our current operating budget.
Thanks. One more question then. So right now, when you take the 19 folks to the off-site for dental care, you are taking somebody off of jail or off the patrol to take them out. Do you have what does it take, like an hour, 2 hours? You're something like that to take somebody and bring them back?
Right, yeah, these are emergent situations, so it is someone that has severe dental issues that's causing immense pain. This is not for a checkup, this is not for your routine type of dental care, where the dental studio and the services provided by the dentist 16 hours a month would include checkups and those types of things.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Nussbaum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, how many years would this take to pay itself back?
I believe that's due, Supervisor Defferding.
Sure. That's a very good question. Honestly, that's a question that's hard to quantify. Because in this particular case, because this is specifically to address the opioid crisis, really what we're looking at is this is a way for them to help focus on their own sobriety while they're also receiving treatment, so that they're no longer in pain. Oftentimes, and I know this because I've worked with people that have been in active addiction, they do have severe tooth pain, and they get released from incarceration, and then they immediately go back to their drugs, to their addiction, because they don't receive the treatment that they need. And so I'll just go ahead and say that that's a question that's really hard to quantify. I think that's the way that really how this pays it back in the sense that we're helping people be relieved from their pain so that they're no longer addicted.
Vice Chairman Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to qualify this a little bit. Sheriff, you estimated that you spent $12,000 this year, or 10,000?
10,219 through the end of September. 19 inmates have received care.
And what would be the increased cost to your budget if we hire a dentist to come to that facility 16 hours a month?
We, Outagamie County pays between $50,000 and $60,000 a year for that contracted service.
Plus the cost of installing the suite itself?
That's correct.
Okay.
The $50,000 to $60,000 would be an ongoing cost.
Which will be added to your budget next year?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a very laudable amendment, but not necessary. And I will share with the board, as a member of the Public Safety Committee, that this whole movement for a dental suite is to qualify for a national certification and recognition. And in my estimate, this is definitely a want and not a need.
Supervisor Buck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is for Sheriff Motz. Is this a trend that you're seeing in your, 30 years in law enforcement? Is this something that from the beginning of your career till now, you're seeing an increase of folks needing dental care? And if you can comment on that.
Sure, and I kind of spoke to it a little bit during yesterday. The inmates that are coming into our facility, health-wise, are much more fragile than what I saw 32 years ago. To have someone taken out via ambulance when I started was rare. Now it is a daily occurrence. They have many more health issues and dental issues than what we saw 30 years ago. It has to do with the drugs that they're using. It has to do with them taking care of themselves just health-wise, doing a much poorer job than what was done 30 years ago.
So when the deputies take these folks out to the dentist, I guess, is it one deputy, two deputies? I guess walk me through what that looks like.
It depends upon the classification of the inmate. It could be a two deputy transport if it's a maximum security inmate, or it would be one. They would be shackled and what you would typically picture in your mind of someone going to the dentist or to the doctor. And these doctor and dentist appointment for outside facilities happen quite often.
Thank you very much.
Supervisor Gabbard.
Boy, do I have questions on this one. And Sheriff Motz, I know you can answer them all, so here we go. So someone is an addict on opioids, and they're not taking care of themselves in more than one direction. And we build this suite, and it costs us $172,000 to build this suite, and then we're talking another 50 or 60 to staff a dentist because their teeth are bad because of what they do to themselves. So my first question is, who determines that this inmate needs to go to a dentist? Because I'm thinking if I were a smart inmate, I'd tell you I had a toothache, go to the dentist, and maybe I could get an opioid to help me with my addiction. So I get all that, but as a taxpayer, I'm looking at this and I'm going, I don't know if this makes sense to me. So who determines whether they go to a dentist or not? That's my first question.
Our medical staff, we have registered nurses on duty, and they will determine. Now, someone could feign a toothache, obviously, but they can do normal tests of cold water, cold and hot.
Okay.
to see how they react to those things. But they would determine whether or not they would be given a dental appointment.
So sitting on the outside, I'm looking at this and going, yeah, we got them incarcerated. Yeah, we release them, they go out in the parking lot. And you mentioned a case where somebody overdosed in the parking lot. So we have all these programs to try to help these people get better. And in your department, I know it's going on and out in the real world. And I'm going, and now we're gonna give them dental service because of what they're doing to themselves at the taxpayer's expense, but you're still gonna see more people coming in with the same issue. So until we get the opioid crisis handled, which I don't know if we ever will, we're trying to make an effort with all these programs. I don't know if this is feasibly good to do this at $250,000. And then you're gonna have the dentist after this every year for 60. And 16 hours for how many inmates? Like, could be 200 or more, correct?
Well, yes, I think our jail count today is 225.
So 16 hours is not very much, correct?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, we would not be able to get to all of the inmates to give them a general exam. That wouldn't happen. Average length of stay is 18 days. So we're not going to hit them all. Certainly, we would look for those that appear to or have requested an exam.
Do you ever have where, and I don't know, I'm not involved with opioids, but the people who use meth, their teeth rot away. So eventually, that's a scenario. Have you ever had that where you have an inmate that goes and the dentist says, hey, we got to pull these teeth?
Yeah, I don't have specific knowledge of what those inmates, the 19 that have gone this year, but I would be willing to stake a paycheck on many of those were extractions from meth use, and that's kind of typically what we run into.
So I'm not asking for your approval of where I'm going with this, but I'm sitting on the outside. You work with it every day. This may not be a need, it may be a want. We could carry on with what we're doing. I know it's costing money to have these corrections officers go to the dentist, which is probably the last thing we should be doing with them. And then the towns don't get the service they're asking for because you're short-staffed, so.
Right.
But, so we approve 172, then we're also gonna have to have a dentist for 60, and that's a yearly thing, and this never goes away.
Yeah, it does not. Once the decision is made and the investment is made into the dental studio, it would be an ongoing cost. I can make an argument for both ways. Certainly, we want to give our inmates the best possible chance to get better on the outside when they leave our facility. But in the same token, there are many of our citizens who do not have access to dental care.
Right,
So,
okay. All right, thank you very much.
Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I intend to vote for this. I would somewhat argue with Supervisor Eisen that there may be an ulterior motive to give us some sort of award for excellence, but on the other hand, do we really want to be known as Winnebago County Jail, substandard in every way? Thank you.
Second time speaking, Supervisor Depperding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to quick clarify this from what Supervisor Gabbard said. That the out of that 172, it's not 172 plus 60 for the contracting out the dentist. That's actually already included in there. So we're adding a 47 to a company that we already have 13 budgeted. So that 47 would then complete that 60. So it's not 172 plus 60. This includes that 60 for contracting out the dentist. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Supervisor Hens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff Matz, I just have a quick question, if you can, at least give us a ballpark on this. How many patrol hours would you say are lost annually taking care of running to the dentist?
Well, a dental visit, I would say, would average 4 hours. So if we're already at 19 and we'll be somewhere around 30, we've lost about 120 hours of patrol time.
So
And that could be 2 deputies.
Right. And I understand it's a ballpark because you don't know how many 2s and 1s you had on these. And I guess my point on that is this worth making the constituents safer because of having those patrol hours having them back on the road actually doing their job patrolling instead of running people to the dentist? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Thank you.
Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was going to ask what Supervisor Hintz asked, because there is a savings from a labor point of view, and I wanted to make sure that I'm weighing that as well. But one other follow-up question, and that is, as you were putting together your budget and going through the priorities, why did this not hit the higher priority list into your initial budget?
Just to make our budget, we had to cut staff positions. So this was not something, this is something we talked about, but certainly was quickly eliminated, given the fact that we have to eliminate positions in order to make the budget number.
I have a couple of questions. It's going to go back to yesterday when we spoke. Supervisor Defferding, I'm definitely not disagreeing. This is a great thing. But I'm still quite concerned out in my area, and I hear it from a lot when it comes to rural people, you're not able to get out there. Now you're telling us that this is going to take more people possibly, or if this don't, possibly taking some other people. Is there any way, or could you go ahead and take this money and get another patrolman that can help out in not just the rural area, but everybody in Winnebago County? Could this money been taken for that and put into your budget?
We, not quite. I mean, we would need about $105,000 for a position, a patrol position. So, and that includes benefits. So, and the overtime that goes with it that's computed. Yes, I mean, we could use this money to increase our patrol staff. Certainly.
Here, if I'm reading it right, they want to add 172. So if you're saying 105, you could add another position.
You could, but the building part of it, the 125, is a one-time thing. If we add a position, that's an ongoing every year cost. So really, it's the 47,000 would be the annual cost that we would have to increase, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
In how many positions are you down now, if I may ask? And I know we're getting off the subject now,
Yeah.
but it kind of all works hand
Right,
in
in
hand.
patrol 2, but we have 4 in training. So, I mean, that really means 6 because they're not fully trained yet.
Thank you. Supervisor Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not sure if my question is for Sheriff Motz, for Supervisor Defferding, or maybe for both of you. It was mentioned that Outagamie, Walworth, Dane, and Milwaukee counties all have these. I'm curious how it's working for them, what kind of results they've seen. Do we have any information on that?
I have not, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have not talked specifically to any of them. Outagamie, we obviously being so close, I have not had conversations, but my jail administrator has with their staff. There's the savings. Anytime you take an inmate into the outside air, there's a risk. So it reduces that risk. I think that is something that also needs to be considered. But part of it was they revamped their whole medical program in Outagamie County, and this was part of that revamping. So I think for them it was a little bit more to it. And the other jails are just very large jails, and you can imagine the amount of inmates that would have to go to the dentist.
Supervisor Dufferting?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I did speak with the sheriff of Walworth County, and he couldn't, necessarily give me a quantifiable number, but he did see value in having the dental suite inside their county jail. They've had it for existing for almost 2 decades now, and he immediately saw the value in the sense that you're taking, you're saving, the net savings is in the labor for the law enforcement officers. In fact, that they can actually just simply go down to either stay on the floor or go down one floor and force an incarcerated person to receive treatment rather than being a taxi service for them.
Yes. I just get her mic back on.
Thank you. And so thank you both for your answers to those questions. Sheriff Motz, you mentioned risks to taking folks outside of the jail. If you could talk a little bit more about that. And then also, are there any risks to the jail or the county for having this sort of facility in the jail?
Well, I'll speak to the risk. Anytime you take someone who has committed a criminal act or allegedly committed a criminal act into the outside, there's an escape for risk, or there's a risk for escape. There's other risks that occur. I mean, we do a really good job making sure that those are minimized, but there's always that possibility. Brown County just had an attempted escape from their jail. So those things happen. As far as liability-wise, I don't know that there's any more liability in taking an inmate from our facility to a dentist or bringing a dentist in as far as civil liability is concerned. The dentist would have malpractice, et cetera.
And are the jails that have these able to fill the contracted services?
Well, it's a great question. It's one thing that we have not. Outagamie is. So that tells me that there's a good chance we could find somebody, but I'm not certain of that. Not certain there's a dentist out there that wants to give up 2 Saturdays a month to work in our facility.
Is there a way to figure that out before going ahead and building it?
Well, what would I tell the dentist? I would say, we'll give you $60,000 to come to our facility 24 days a month. Without really a contract, without an RFP, that would be difficult to get an answer that I could count on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Gordon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know this is kind of just out there, but Wisconsin is eligible for a minimum of $280 million of opioid settlement money. 31 million has already been allocated by the state level, and currently there's 3 million, which is discretionary, to go to law enforcement out of that first 31 million. So there's a possibility that this could be covered, the dentist could be covered going forward.
Supervisor Cox?
Sheriff Motz.
Pull your mic, please.
Sheriff Motz, you're talking about training of 4 people. You're down 2 right now. You're unable to get to walk in a reasonable length of time. Perhaps Bayfield and Price and Forest County need a dentist, and they're getting along without them. This is a wish list type of thing that's going to cost you right now and down the line for a while. It would seem that each one of these prisoners would want to take care of their health better, but not on the county dime. So I think this isn't really a good idea. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to vote for it. I'm done.
Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to vote in favor of this. I know that there are reasons you can say, well, these are patients who've done this to themselves, or there are plenty of people out in the community with no teeth because they don't have good insurance or they've done something. But voting this down will not put one tooth in the mouth of the toothless people walking around the streets. And I don't see any reason why we should not be doing this. These people need this help. Thank you.
Supervisor Haran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to do a comparable. I think in terms of a physician, an MD, as the same education as a dentist. Am I incorrect in thinking that you send incarcerated people to the physician to see them? So my question would be, if we're going to do this for a dentist, why would we not have a physician at the jail 16 hours a month, or however long that is? Because we're talking about health here, and it just seems like if we're going to do one, why don't we do the other? And so now we're talking about more expense. Is that correct, or am I thinking wrong?
We currently have a physician that comes to our jail once a week. I think it's 4 hours a week. And really his is oversight, not necessarily seeing patients. We have a nurse practitioner and an RN that actually see the inmates. You're spending $1.1 million to take care of the inmates medically already, which is part of our budget. And obviously, medical issues have a greater liability for the county than what a dental issue typically would. So that's the standard that is throughout the jails in our nation.
Thank you, sir, for answering that.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Nussbaum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would a corrections officer have to be with this person at the jail, or only certain inmates?
Not usually. Usually the inmates will see medical staff without the presence of a correctional deputy right there. There are exceptions, obviously, for those that meet a certain level of security.
Not seeing any other questions, we're going to do this by your machines. So if you're in favor of adding the $172,000 to the 2023 Sheriff's Office budget for the purpose of a building dental suite in Winnebago County Jail and contracting outside dental service on an annual basis, vote A. If you're against it, vote nay. Supervisor Fulham?
No.
Supervisor Bain?
No.
And that fails 21-14. Resolution number 126-10-2022, amendment number 3, add a full-time Deputy Director of Public Health position to the table of organization. Supervisor Norton.
Number 3.
Oops, just hold on, they said there's an addition. There's an additional sponsor on this, is Supervisor Harrison. Do I have a second on? Supervisor Harrison seconded it. All right. Supervisor Norton.
I'll
any
just be very
discussion?
brief. This is a position that the county executive put in the budget. I was skeptical, but I do support this because I agree with Public Health Director Greg Deering. It would free him up due to other duties of dealing with the public and getting out in the community. And I think it would be similar to a number of years ago, we created a deputy director position for the Human Services Department. So that's why I support this. If you have any other questions, I know Public Health Director Doug Gearing is in the back.
Supervisor Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I stated yesterday, I think they're doing a good job in the health department. I think there's a lot more they could do. As I said yesterday, that we need to get out in the public because with the pandemic and everything going on, we've had an issue where people don't really understand. They heard things left and right, whatever it is, but I think it needs to be a little more clear. And I think he's so busy right now, he can't get out there to get out the public, to let them know what's really going on and challenge some of the activities that are going out there and statements and things that are said. I think it's misunderstood out there. The pandemic and all the other stuff, I just think he needs to get out more and he needs more help. If you look in the health department, they're doing a great job. They're trying to get every dollar for any kind of a grant that we can get to help us out, which is great. But they need more help to do that. He needs more help to do it. And I think he has done a great job and everybody knows that, but now he needs to get out to talk about the other half or whatever it might be to convince them that the health department is a great place. We need to get trust back to them. And this is an opportunity to get a person that can take some of the pressure off, get involved in some of the grants, get involved with a lot of it, so he can get out there and be the spokesman for the health department. And I think that's important. And that's why I'm supporting this bill here for this, because I think he needs to do that with what's going on at this time. Thank you.
Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to make a comment that will actually cover a lot of these, and I'm struggling with a lot of these ads. We've had, as Sheriff Motz, and one of the reasons why I asked the question I did is, Sheriff Motz had to eliminate open positions. We had to eliminate the person that sits in the front desk area when you walk into the sheriff's office. So now going forward, when you walk in and you have an emergency, there's not going to be anyone there. So we're cutting services, we're cutting areas in which are fundamental to our public safety. And then I hear Supervisor Bender talking about our highway department and how we're struggling there. And I struggle because we have these fundamental services that we provide our citizenry that are critical. That's why we're here, to make sure those things are happening. And if we are struggling with those things, I have a hard time with the priority with others. So that's what I'm really trying to wrestle with here is these are all great things. And this is nothing against any of the ads in terms of positions. I think everything here would add value, but it's a matter of priority. And I'm fearful that we're trading down priorities. So as people comment, I'm going to be listening so I can try to understand that priority list on how I'm voting. But I am concerned with where we've cut and now where we're adding back. So thank you.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at a structure of the Public Health Department. The Public Health Department today is different than the Public Health Department 10 years ago. Our health department today serves all municipalities in Winnebago County with the exception of Menasha, that has their own health director. Several years ago, the Oshkosh Public Health Department and the Neenah Health Department was merged into the county. Today, we experienced a pandemic, and Public Health Department came to the forefront and was instrumental in helping us weed through this time. I support a deputy director because if you look at the organization chart, you'll see that there is a need.
Supervisor Hens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could, Mr. Guerin, I'd like to ask you about something you actually said yesterday. When you were asked about the staffing that you did not have and that was reduced, did you not say that the deputy was the lowest on your need? I'm paraphrasing. I'm not.
Yep.
I'm paraphrasing.
Yep, when I was asked yesterday to prioritize between a policy position and a deputy director position, if I could only have one, I said that in support of my staff, I would take the policy position. Now, I mean, I said I could use both. And the deputy director position, you know, would help us quite a bit. I mean, it does, we are fairly flat. We are trying to, you know, build a wide bench and provide, you know, opportunities for advancement here or elsewhere. This role would definitely assist with, you know, helping coordinate organizations within the community to respond to public health issues, you know, basic needs issues. It certainly could help support grant writing. I mean, just bringing in a couple of grants, it funds itself, right? Public health, dollars invested in public health and in prevention generally pay back more than you've put in. And so, you know, this is an opportunity to invest and hopefully have a larger return, even if it's not direct dollars like grants, but reducing costs in the future, you know, for services within the community. So these are, you know, having extra capacity to do research, to identify best practices, to, you know, help implement those. Those are all areas that this position could assist with, and, you know, increase, you know, our effectiveness as an organization overall.
Thank you, and I understand all that. I was just curious why the people who are trying to help you the most are going after what you didn't ask for versus what you did ask for. So thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Gabbard.
Just some history here. So back in the day, when we had the separate county health departments, Doug was our leader. And then when they combined them, Doug applied for the position to be the leader of the combination. In my numbers in my head, I don't want Doug Guerin going out to the towns and the villages and doing PR every day, because he is the director. So I don't feel our town in particular has lost anything with just having Doug there, because we just went through a pandemic. And I would have to say, whether you're on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence, our county health department handled it well. There was a website, you could see where vaccines would be given, you could schedule things. It was a smooth operation if you were willing to follow the procedures. So I think Doug did a good job. Do I think he needs a deputy director? No, I don't, because he did it all, and we're coming out of a pandemic, and I know Doug can do what's gonna happen next, because he did it well. And Doug and I have had disagreements along the way, but I think he's a good health director. So I'm not gonna vote for this because I don't think we need a deputy. I would think we would put someone else in a position in the health department that would be, I don't know, more feasible. So I'm not going to vote for this, and I think that's a lot of money to pay for a deputy director. And I still believe Doug will move forward and handle that department because he is a good director. So I have just a quick question, and I don't know, Doug, if you can answer it, or Mike, if you can. What are the qualifications going to be for a deputy health director? Because during COVID, the issue came up with qualifications. Doug's shaking his head. You know that was a kind of a stigma thing. What will a deputy director's box consist of for someone applying for that job?
Well, that hasn't been determined
That
yet, so
hasn't
I
been determined.
can't tell you what that would be at this point.
So where will you get that information from? Other counties, what they have in there? Or will you do what you're good at and put the box together with the help of Doug?
Well, certainly, the HR director would work with Doug, maybe some input from myself. Normally, that process will at least often involve looking at some descriptions from other counties if we don't have one currently here, just to get input from them. But ultimately, we'll decide what requirements are best to fit into our structure.
And how long will that take, if this is approved, how long will that take before we advertise for a deputy health director? Can that be done quickly, or is that a couple months, or?
It can be done fairly quickly. The only concern is that sometimes this time of year, there might be a dozen different positions for which we're doing that. But this would be an upper management position, so we give it, a pretty high priority. Could get that done, fairly soon, and certainly advertise it before the end of the year, although I'm not going to guarantee they'll have someone hired ready to start by the beginning of the year by any means.
So my position on this, I'm not against the health department. I'm just against hiring a deputy because I believe Doug is handling everything right now and handling it well for this county. So I would say a position somewhere else in the health department, not a deputy director. Thank you.
Can we see the timer clock?
She just missed it once, so every now and then it gets missed. You got to realize they're running that, they're typing and everything else, so they're doing the best they can.
Could I interrupt for a second? The mic is on back here and we're getting some feedback. I was just wondering if you should from that mic.
How's that? That's the wrong one. How's that? Thank you. Vice Chairman Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A comment on this, and I don't have a doubt that Doug could probably use a little help in his office. We're looking at $125,000 a year, and we're taking it from the fund balance, so there's no impact on this budget. But what about next year, and the year after, and the year after? If we keep adding positions, it's not going to be sustainable. In other words, at some point, our county executive is going to have to start cutting people because you just can't afford to pay them no more. So be cautious when you add people to the organization. You need to think, can we sustain this long-term, given the issues we have, levy limits, et cetera? So that's my concern. I'm sure Doug could use help. I'm sure we could pay for it this year. But next year, if it's a budget levy item, it's going to be an issue. Thank you.
Supervisor Ponzer.
That might have answered my question. My question was, we can appropriate the money for that through the budget, but can Mr. Damo say, I don't want that position and cancel it, and then the money is stuck into the department? I'd just like to know that. That's the question. Nobody understands my question.
No, I think I understand your question, and I think Vice Chairman Fari made a comment yesterday that the position, if created by the board, could be not hired by the county executive, by administrative staff. So that is a possibility. I don't know of any way that the board could require the money to be spent. They can appropriate the money to allow it to be spent.
Well, then would it not be incumbent upon us to ask Mr. Damo what his intentions are, and we could end this?
That'll be up to Mr. Damo whether he wants to do it later on or not. He can reject our whole budget at the end, so that'll be up to him afterwards.
Mr. Chairman,
Who said
at the
something?
podium here, Doug.
Yes.
If, may I add a couple
Yes.
of comments that, so a couple of pieces to address with budget. Every year we do budget, and we have to show that we have the revenue to fill the positions that are on the TO. So essentially, every position, every year, has to be shown that there is a funding source to cover it. If we don't have the funds to cover our positions, then we have to reduce positions. Ideally, if that happens, it's in vacancies. But I just want to assure you that when you add a position, we still have to every single year justify that we can afford it and we have the funding to support it. And so if there's a levy cut and we can't reach our levy target, we've got to find that savings someplace. And that may be a position, that might be something else in the budget. So I guess I'd just be cautious about thinking that this goes into perpetuity and that you're stuck with it. It's really about what can the department afford. And then in terms of this position, this position addition actually came as a recommendation to me from the county executive, and so I can assure you that the county executive is supportive of adding this position.
Supervisor Hanson, I apologize. I think your light was on before, but when I pushed the button in the back, some of the lights automatically go off, so I apologize.
That's okay. Thank
Supervisor
you,
Hanson.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Hintz, Gabbard, and Fari kind of addressed what I was going to inquire about. I'm just, based on what I'm hearing, I'm not convinced that the creation of this position or having it is going to change any kind of trajectory on messaging or trust or implementation, which all of the supervisors have just discussed, so I will not be voting in favor.
Supervisor Hran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have just, for the Health Department, added up the various requests and amendments, and it comes to $491,000. I'm going to go here to a brainy quote by Everett Dirksen. 100,000 here, excuse me, he said $1 billion. $1 billion here, $1 billion there. Eventually, it's being talked about as real money. So I'm going to take off on that, and I'm going to say 100,000 here, 100,000 there, and pretty soon you're talking about real money. Thank you.
Supervisor Bender.
I'd just like to say, I heard Chairman Egan talk about no response out in his area. We continue to basically cut positions, not have any money to add positions. Eventually, we have to put sales tax in. We have to be realistic. We're one of like 3 counties that don't have it. It will generate $16.5 million. Can you imagine if there's an incident out in the rural areas and we have no police officers to go there and it takes 15, 20 minutes of response time? We keep basically saying, well, we can't do this, we can't do this, we have no money. We have the ability to raise $16.5 million, and we can do it today. Any one of us supervisors can put a resolution in adding a 0.5% sales tax, which will generate $16.5 million for this county. We can fund these positions today and into the future, and eventually it will come. We're not going to be able to basically balance the budget again next year. We're taking over $4 million out of the reserve again this year to balance this budget. We cut 4 positions from the Sheriff's Department this year. We cut 10 positions from the Sheriff's Department last year. Pretty soon we won't have a Sheriff's Department left. We got to face the facts. If we need more revenue, we have the ability to get that. And we can't continue to basically not maintain our facilities, not keep our staff basically functioning. We got 70 openings at Parkview that we can't 35 people on a waiting list. I had one lady call me for 3 times in a hospital wanting to get into a nursing home. And what can I tell her? We got no people. We got no money. We got no wage study. So, you know, I just say that we have a decision here to make. We have to basically take care of the citizens of Winnebago County. And if that means that eventually we have to add the sales tax, then that's what we have to do. We have to have police officers to be able to respond to the rural areas. If there's an incident out there, an accident, a domestic abuse, basically you can't wait 20 minutes for some officer to come to help somebody that's in trouble. You need them there in a reasonable amount of time. So I urge you to basically think twice on supporting this, but really look at the 0.5% sales tax. I think we're going to need it eventually.
Supervisor Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm newly elected, sworn in April. I come here with 10 years of experience on a city council. The one thing that I've learned in my very short time here and observed is that there is a lack of succession planning in all departments. We have an aging workforce. We're having trouble recruiting, hiring, and retaining employees. There were very important vacancies in finance department all summer, in human resources all summer, for months and months and months, because there was not a plan in place for people to be trained and elevated when the time came. And so I see this position as an important step in that succession planning process, and perhaps there's something that can be learned. You can be sort of the test case moving forward. Not that we want you to leave, but you know, it could happen any time. That's the world we live in. To you know, be a model and provide some insight and understanding into what succession planning looks like.
Supervisor Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm fundamentally against adding this position, as I've seen from our neighbors to the north, actually merging their health and human services department together. I think approaching a model like that in our county would ultimately save us money and also kind of give us the fulfillment of a position like this if these two departments were able to come together. I know Dr. Topol has come forward and actually has inquired about this kind of move. I've talked with Executive Damel as well, who is also in support of such movement. So ultimately, I would say adding a position like this now ultimately would just take away from the potential of that opportunity that I think we need to move towards that would ultimately save the taxpayer as well as keep efficiency across the board. Thank you.
Supervisor Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When Mr. Bender decided we need a 0.5% or even 1% sales tax, I think once you cross that and add the sales tax in, you're never going to give it back. It's going to be a spending issue, and $16 million can get spent in an awful big hurry, and then we need more, and pretty soon there's 2% sales tax. It continues to grow. As long as you can tighten your belt and stay within what our budget is, and we have an awful lot of money sitting in the back that should be a rainy day fund of some sort. That undesignated fund is not a Christmas gift list. It's something that we need to guard against having to go to a sales tax. As far as, Doctor, as far as your need for this position, understand something. We started looking at grants to get some of your people, your interns, some help so they can stay employed with you. I think if you take a look at what grants we have out there and keep some of the people around you, you may be able to do without getting another large buy-in to your executive office. Follow? I don't think he's hearing me.
I'm sorry, I
Dr. Viren?
didn't know you had a question.
Yeah, I said, we attempted to look at grants and tried to help you with some of the interns that you may need to employ and stay around. If there are grants out there that can help you get people into your, keep people around you, would you need to have additional executive experience around you? Can't you do that yourself?
I think we're doing the best we can, in terms of developing our staff, developing our leadership team, to have some succession planning in place, for any of our, supervisor leadership positions. This is, it's a value add for the department. I mean, it will enhance our capacity, and it pays dividends over the long term in terms of our ability to, attract more funding, to, be more efficient, to better respond to issues in the community. I understand the concerns about, adding, dollars to the budget, and I appreciate the discussion and hearing that. Will we survive without it? Well, of course. I mean, we will. We haven't had it before, but it's, it would be a value add and a good investment.
Thank you.
Mr. Guerin, what would you do if this 125,518 don't pass? What would be your next step? Just say it's not there. What would you do?
Yeah, this is an add, not a subtraction. So there aren't funds currently budgeted for this position. We would we'll continue as we have in our operations and developing the staff we have.
Would there be anything that suffers?
Oh, it's just a capacity reduction. It limits how much we can do. It's not like, the department's going to fold or we're not going to meet a requirement or anything like that. It's, we're just going to be able to, we won't have the capacity to do as much as we could. That's all.
And what more will this person do?
Oh, well, I mean, as I've tried to share that, adding a deputy director position, at the high level of the department could really help us, with some additional public health research, with some of our high level, community health engagement, needs assessments, identifying best practices for our community, helping coordinate partners within our community so that we can have more meaningful. I mean, one of the things we're really trying to work on is, how do we coordinate our nonprofits, our other non-governmental agencies that are critical to the needs of our population to make that more efficient? How do we leverage other dollars that are available that we're not, just because we don't have the capacity to create more opportunity for Winnebago County residents? So, I didn't come prepared with very specifics today. This was an ad, but it certainly enhances our ability to serve the community.
Thank you. Supervisor Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can understand everyone's concerns. As a new supervisor, I've learned a lot from the beginning, how I felt coming in to coming out. In a business world that I've been in for quite a while, you got to be organized in the beginning. If you're not organized in the beginning and you don't have a plan, you're just throwing things out. And what we're talking about here is we have a zero budget, and everybody needs employees. We heard that from every division there is. But you know what? The finance department was the first one that they made an attempt to try to organize it and get it going. Nobody else has done it on the other ones, and we probably should start looking at it. Our maintenance is behind. I don't know what happened in the last 10 or 20 years, but from what I see in just a short time, there's a lot of things that are going to be, this isn't the last time we're going to be talking about any of this. It's going to come up. We can cut it back and say we're not going to spend any money, but it's coming up because there's all this ARPA money and things going around. But we have to be proactive, and I think that's what the the executive is doing is he's trying to organize, get this going, and trying to get people help one at a time in a division as they can, because there's so much out there. In the time I've sat with you, I can't believe the number of grants that are out there. It takes time to put those together. And how many times do you have to do research? You have to make sure you prove it, and then you come up with, there's a couple of grants that we just got that just made it just under the wire recently. This position will definitely pay for itself, what it does by helping him. And again, I talked about him going out in the community. To me, again, we're split right now, back and forth, whatever you want to call it. But now the vaccinations, things like that are stopping because people are starting to question things. And we need someone to be out there kind of talking about it. He's our spokesman for the health department, not of the other people because they're doing the paperwork. He needs help out there. I think this is important. This is the first step to organize the next level from the finance we did, now what we're doing here. And I think we have to go out, look back at all this. That's why we have so many things here, things we passed. We need employees, we need certain things. And somebody has to start taking initiative. I think that was first, and I think this is the second one organized. This will take care of us. This will give us extra money. The pandemic is almost gone, but there's going to be other things that we've got to learn. What about the people that couldn't take advantage, couldn't get a car to get to a doctor, that, you know, had a pandemic issue that didn't take the shot? Where are those people? There's a lot of stuff out there we don't know about. We only know about the good stuff. And I really feel that if it gets extra help between him and the deputy, we can accomplish this and be a better county without it. And I know you can talk back and forth about cutting this and that, but I think this is an important step to organize this area. And that's what I'm saying. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you again.
Supervisor Bender.
I just wanted to say that Doug Zomer and I, Supervisor Zomer and I, are putting a resolution together to add a 0.5% sales tax. So if any of this stuff does get passed, there will be money in the budget next year to fund it. So it's about time we start taking care of the citizens of our county and giving them the service that they need. We can't just keep cutting positions and taking things away because we're afraid we want to be the last one for the sales tax. If that, you know, we're one of three now. Everybody else has already done it. We're fighting constantly on how we're going to basically balance this budget. Year after year, we're taking money out of reserves. Year after year, we're cutting positions. Our citizens deserve a better quality, and you in the rural areas deserve people to be able to come and respond to you when you have an incident. So I just hope that.
I got it. I've got it, yep. He quit.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted you to know that's coming.
Supervisor Sellinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All of the object codes are for labor time. Are there associated office costs, equipment, computers, travel, training, anything like that, or is that absorbed into other expenses that you were already planning for this position?
Correct, yes. We would utilize existing equipment and space and our existing, budgeted training to support that position. We wouldn't be asking for additional funds.
And do you have just like an extra computer laying around? I mean, I don't mean to, whatever, but like a lot of times when we see a new position added, there has to be money put for a computer. So I'm actually kind of wondering, the physical computer that this person would use, don't you need budget for that?
Well, we have current vacant positions that there's equipment for, and to finance and HR's credit, they specifically asked me about this item and whether or not there would be additional costs, and I said I didn't anticipate any.
And so it's just in a sense you would imagine maybe like the travel or equipment things as sort of equivalent to like the wage turnover, like just because you have vacant positions that budget is flexible. Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't be asking for additional dollars, at this point in time, and hopefully, and most of our add-ons are, if there's additional equipment needs or training needs, a lot of those are covered by grants as we receive them.
Okay.
So nothing additional at this time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Supervisor Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I find it odd that people are concerned the county executive would veto this or take it out because he's the one who recommended we have the position. So that I find odd. And I got to tell you, when the county executive kind of announced this at the last county board meeting in his report, I was first skeptical, and more I learn about this, I'm more and more supportive. Because I agree with Doug. I think we need to coordinate things with the community. There are many different things out there, and I think this one thing this position can do. And like I said, I think it's somewhat similar to we have a deputy director in the Human Services Department, and I've seen the benefits of having a deputy director in that department. So I think it's needed, and that's why I asked that you support that. And all this discussion about merging with other departments, that could happen. That we could still have a deputy director. That's in the future, and I think Doug Gearing is correct and Chuck Farr is correct. I mean, we don't know what the future entails, but we'll worry about that in years to come. And the county executive took one position out of this department and suggested this, and he may do it in the future. But I think right now, it's a much needed position because I think there'll be added benefit to it. That's why I asked you to support this. Thank you.
Supervisor Hanson.
Yeah, just kind of going off of what Supervisor Norton said and what I've heard from others, I think before adding positions on any of these amendments, we should really explore marrying the departments under Human Services, which already has an infrastructure in place. We can utilize it and I think perhaps save a significant amount of money rather than creating positions right now.
Not seeing any other lights. This time we'll do voting on your machine. If you approve adding a full-time deputy director of public health position to the table of organizations, vote A. If you don't, vote nay. Supervisor Flom?
No.
Supervisor Beam?
Yes.
And that fails 15 to 20.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a 15-minute break. So it's 10:28, so we'll be back at 10:45.
Recording stopped.
The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand.
Want to all start finding your seats, please? Being 10:45, we'll reconvene. Supervisor Sestero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to pull resolution number 126-102022 to increase Register of Deeds employee wages. It would be one of the last, the very last amendment today, possibly. I'd like to just, if I may, Mr. Chairman, just make a comment on that.
That is Amendment 16, correct?
Oh, yes, it is.
Thank you.
Amendment 16. 16.
Okay.
I appreciated the presentation by Ms. Strohmeyer yesterday. I was just moved to look into that and to bolster a small office that is in need of employee. But I, of course, realize there are many people in that situation, many departments in the county. So I respectfully withdraw that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with our resolutions now. Resolution number 126-10-2022, amendment number 004, increased budget for county scholarship program. Be resolved by the Winnebago County Supervisor that hereby amends the 2023 Winnebago County general budget. Next is to add $9,000 to the 2023 budget scholarship department. Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Supervisor Bender. Go ahead, Ms. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Winnebago County Scholarship Fund, Scholarship Committee met a couple of weeks ago. It's made up of 2 supervisors and 1 member from the public who is a youth minister in Winnebago County. We looked at the fact that the Winnebago County Scholarship Fund has not increased in the 23 years since it was begun in 1999. It stayed stagnant.
Recording in progress.
And we'd like to see it increase slowly over the next few years to be more in par with what it was in 1999. $9,000 had been removed from the general fund and instead put in, take $9,000 out of the reserve fund for the scholarship. And I would like to see the general fund return the $9,000, take $9,000 more from the reserve fund so that that we are in fact beginning to reduce the amount of the reserve fund, but not totally every year. And there'll be a resolution at the November meeting that was agreed by the scholarship committee 2 weeks ago. It'll be at the November meeting to ask for scholarships to be increased from $1,000 a year for 9 graduating seniors in Winnebago County up to $18,000, which still is far below what tuition has increased. Tuitions have gone up nearly 160% in those 23 years. So that's my proposal. Thank you.
Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question. What is the current balance of the scholarship fund? I want to say it's
42 something.
42,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Defferding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to avoid this meeting to go longer, we spoke about this for a good half hour last year, so I'm going to call a question.
Second. Motion made and seconded. So we have to vote on that first. So we'll have to vote on that first. The question has been called. Is there any debate on that? The question being called. Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this issue was brought before the Judiciary Committee in an effort to establish a supervisor separate committee. And at that time, Jerry Finch initiated scholarship. It was designed to fill and to provide scholarships to the avid students. I oppose the idea of increasing it. And I would ask for more debate so that we can.
Point of order. Question has been called.
The question. Can there be debate? Our attorney's checking.
No, it's not debatable.
It's not debatable.
And it's 2/3.
And it's 2/3 vote, so it's not debatable. Thank you. Or amendable. So,
But it does need a second.
we have a second, all kinds of seconds we have. Supervisor Nussbaum seconded. So we need 2/3 vote.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Okay, so we're back on the original motion. So, right. We'd have to just hold on here. Now we're back on the original motion. On the amendment. So, motion is to go ahead. The Winnebago County Supervisor that hereby amends the 2023 Winnebago County General Budget to add $9,000 to the 2023 Budget Scholarship Department. And for purpose of increasing scholarships amounts to be awarded from $9,000 to $18,000, of which $9,000 will reduce the scholarship fund balance and the remaining $9,000 will reduce unassigned general fund balance. I see no lights, so I'm going to go, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Nay. Okay. Roll call. We're going to go ahead and we'll have a roll call. All those that are in favor of that, push A. If you're not in favor of this, push nay. What's the matter? I see you going like this. I don't know what the problem is.
Just brain fog. Working through it.
Supervisor Vlom, you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Your
No,
vote?
I have a question. I just have my vote, and I'll just say yes.
Supervisor Boehm?
No.
Okay. And the nays have it, 23. So it does not pass. Okay, Resolution 126, 10-2022, Amendment Number 5, eliminating health and well-being educator position at UW Extension. Being resolved by the Winnebago County Board of Supervisors that it hereby amends the 2023 Winnebago County General Budget to delete $99,500 from the 2023 budget of the University Extension Department for the purpose of eliminating a county-funded health well-being educator position. Extension budget is in violation of county executive's request for a levy target under 2022 request. Seeing that this is not related to public safety, extension should be brought more in line with zero in levy. Supervisor Flom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is just kind of to say that we're living in a world of needs and wants, and right now we essentially, I essentially view this as a want instead of a need. We live in a very tight budgeting environment at the moment, and I am of the opinion that it's incredibly important that we go ahead and say that we need to kind of make our choices here, and this is a tough choice. Seeing that the UW Extension Department is above the levy limit that the county executive set, I think this is a sensible position to trim the fat off of, if you will, and that's my reasoning for this amendment. I have a number of supervisors who have joined me in this, and I hope everybody votes yes. Thank you.
We've got a motion by Supervisor Flom and seconded by Supervisor Hanson. Any discussion? Supervisor Norton.
Is Chris from UW Extension, can we get a hold of him to have him discuss this?
Chris is on Zoom, so if we can get Chris up on Zoom. Chris, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Supervisor Norton, did you have a question?
Well, my question is, Chris, have you seen the amendment about cutting the position, and how would this affect your department? I mean, more the programs and the services that you offer.
Okay. This is not a new position. This is refilling a vacant position. The vacancy became, we had a vacancy that occurred essentially in the middle of the budget process in early August. And that was the previous health and well-being educator. That position was filled by Mandy Dornfeld. And Mandy took a new position, or a different position within Extension. So this position, this isn't new fund. So how this would impact is that essentially many of the areas of focus that Mandy worked on would just be sunset. We would sunset those, and we would not be able to continue offering programs in those areas. The one thing that the vacancy would have that would allow is an opportunity to carefully scope the position and craft the expectations that are both focused on meeting the county needs and still operating within our extension frameworks of being able to bring the knowledge, the research to the community in ways that would be supportive and complementary to our existing structures in place.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I believe Mandy Dornfield, who had this position before, worked with one program she was in charge of, was the grandparents program. If you eliminated this position, would that program be either eliminated or really hurt? May I ask that?
Yeah, the Grandparents Raising Grandchildren program is is an intentional program that has that supports caregivers who are taking care of their grandchildren or other relatives, and in some cases their guardians, family friends of individuals that are in very high risk situations. A number of individuals might have illness or be incarcerated, and a number of other areas. So at this time, we would have we would still be able to offer that program, but there would be reduced capacity to that audience. This program has had as many as 30 families. Granted, the recent pandemic adventure has most recently limited the ability for that group to meet, because also a number of them are high risk with health concerns. So waiting until this would be the first year that they would begin back in person. So probably would have to look at reducing the overall level of support, reducing the number of sessions that they would need, which had been at during key time or most of the year would be monthly. So there's probably a likelihood that we would have to reduce that because the support would not be there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chris. I guess my general question is why this position, the 4 amendment sponsors, and why not any other position in the extension to meet their goal of meeting the county executive's targets? That's one question that maybe any of them can answer.
So apologize, Supervisor Norton. Took me a little while to recognize that question was addressed to me. So the position during the budgeting process, the initial submitted budget that was submitted included did meet the levy target that was provided. So with the follow-up process, working with all of the other parties to look at additions or adjustments to the budget, I'm the one who prepared this position to be added, to be part of that budget addition or process, in which the county executive did add that position into our county budget or into our departmental budget. This was chosen because this position is currently vacant. So not to diminish any of the other positions that we have, as we do have one other part-time or one other vacant position, but this was the one that was not included in the base budget, because the county funded, the fee that the county has is significant, and would have, all of the other cuts would not have added up to the number that was needed to fund this position.
Supervisor Bender.
I'd just like to say, a lot of her work was when there was teen suicides at the high school, she was out there counseling the teens. You know, her job is essential to the extension. Mike's not on supervisor. When there were teen suicides at the high schools, she was always out there counseling and working with the teens. You know, her job was pretty much essential to the extension, and I believe we were under the impression that the county exec would put it back in. We had nowhere to cut 4%, and he did put it back in, because even the county exec realizes the position is necessary, and it should be in the extension's budget. the work that she does is, you know, she was training the, maybe Chris could elaborate on a little more, the colors program. She was training our employees in that. You know, it's not something that you can just put on a shelf and, you know, these problems don't happen. She was basically the grandparents raising grandkids. You know, they were calling her, and their sons and daughters are drug addicts, and they basically get the kids taken away, and rather than see the kids in a foster home, the grandparents take the children. So, you know, she was coaching them on how to raise them, where to get the help. You know, she had many, many projects that she worked on every day, and Chris maybe could elaborate a little more on the colors program.
Yes, so a number of individuals of the county employees have had the opportunity to participate in Real Colors, and the invitation has also been extended to a number of members of the Board of Supervisors. That program, so both Mandy and I are trained facilitators in that program. We had been splitting up the workload to be able to do that. Mandy, though, was probably taking a higher percentage, with my role being split amongst 3 counties, being able to do that. So Real Colors is a temperament assessment that allows individuals to understand some of their areas, their areas of strength, and where they operate the most efficiently, but then also understanding those around them, so that when they are in their workplaces, that they have the opportunity to have to understand communication preferences and styles, work styles, in order to increase the effectiveness of work teams or work groups. So that's what the Real Colors in a nutshell is. The foundational training is a 3-hour program, and then, as an example, I recently had done a follow-up training with one of the groups that, one of the teams that had participated separately, and then came together and gave an add-on experience. Being realistic, that's one thing, working on building the capacity, and with that, but right now we are currently limited to how we're able to deploy that training with the rest of the Winnebago County employees, just because of capacity restraints.
Vice Chairman Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A question. Did this person that held the position previously assist the Diversity Affairs Committee?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
There was a role in line with our extension mission and vision for education. It was an opportunity to support the educational functions of that committee. And at the beginning of the committee, that individual did assist with some of the logistics to allow to the meeting scheduling and those pieces that are needed to get that commission operating, or up from the enabling resolution into to the point where they were a group that was working and meeting.
And is the intent of the hiring of this new person to continue to facilitate the Diversity Affairs Committee? Is that the intent?
So the intent is that if as needed, there will be an opportunity to connect with the Diversity Affairs Committee or another similar group in supporting the educational pieces. That would be consistent with an educator role. And if that is also the case, I have looking at our staff capacity. There would be some opportunity for our program support staff to be able to assist if needed with some of the logistical pieces. So allowing those individuals to be in the roles that they are hired for and that they're within their position descriptions.
Thank you. My next question is for Supervisor Bender. I believe you are the chairman of UW Extension?
Yes, that's right.
And is the Diversity Affairs Committee still an active committee?
The Diversity Affairs Commission reports to our committee.
And they're still active and viable? They have not been disbanded?
No, it's on the agenda for the extension for the 17th of November to discuss if we should keep the Diversity Affairs Commission. If this big position is dropped, the Diversity Affairs Commission is gone. There's nobody to support them, and if we have nobody to support them, you can't take 7 people and meet with no county support.
Okay,
We have to have support from Winnebago County if we want to have the Diversity Affairs Commission.
That's the premise of my discussion and bringing the questions forward. I think, my personal opinion, the Diversity Affairs Commission or Committee, it was established. I see no reason to abolish it, so I will not be supporting this resolution. I think it's important that this position be added back in so you can continue with the work that you're doing. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Supervisor Schellinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, for that line of questioning. I think my head is spinning a little bit, but I understand a little bit more clearly perhaps what the motivation of this is, because I was confused as to the rationale here, you know, saying that this was because of the executive's arbitrary levy target, when it's in fact the executive who added this back in, just didn't really add up to me and didn't really make a lot of sense. So I have a lot more clarity about that now. This is no longer the executive's budget. This is the county board's budget. The budget that we pass later today, or hopefully pass later today, is going to be the budget that we send, that will be the county board's budget, that will become, hopefully with the executive's blessing, the county's budget. It won't be part of one person or one entity, but will be the document for everybody. So I don't really find a lot of merit in the idea that we need to eliminate $99,500 just to hit an arbitrary amount when, frankly, we know the levy went up. And frankly, we know that the executive did not adhere to that levy target for his own department as well. I think the line of questioning about the Diversity Affairs Commission is actually far more on point with what the motivation of this is, and we should reject this amendment. Thank you.
Supervisor Gabbard.
This is probably a question for Chris, the director. So you said that the position is vacant, so nobody's losing a job here. But how long has that job been vacant, that position?
That position has been vacant since August.
You have not
So-
advertised for anybody?
No, I'm not able to because it depends on the 2023 county budget. So this process needs to be completed before I know that I have the full financial backing to then work to post this position. Once the budget would be approved, then I would be able to work on the necessary paperwork to complete the vacancy or the position posting. And that would likely occur after the holidays.
Okay, so this amendment has a double-edged sword. So you're eliminating a position that isn't filled, so nobody's losing a job, but now the Diversity Commission is kind of a sideline here that Supervisor Fari brought up. So it started out with a question by Supervisor Norton that you educate grandparents on how to bring up their grandchildren because maybe their children are drug addicts or whatever, I don't know. But I was going to mention that maybe they could go seek help from Human Services or the Health Department, that they didn't need to come to you to know how to raise a kid because they've already raised a kid that had a kid. So I'm a little confused as to what the box is for this position and who changed the box description to include the diversity part of it. So maybe you can clarify that for me?
Sure. So in the big piece is that not necessarily changing the box. Mandy Mandy Dornfeld, the previous person in this role, was engaged and supported the Diversity Affairs Commission as is through the part of the educational, moving towards supporting the educational piece. As intended, that support over the past year was intended to be continually more focused on educational opportunities and allowing the group to function and be sustainable on their own as they grow. So this role in overall the goal of this role is to connect to look at the local needs and connect them or look for connections within resources in the community that are existing and or identifying areas that might be growth and connecting with university resources that may be able to aid in the development or the growing, developing programs or improving programs for increased impact. So, and to clarify on like the grandparents isn't about just raising kids. It's most of those families are involved in trauma situations, and so it's a trauma-informed approach to being able to provide to help manage stress and anxiety with all of the other things that are going on as in support of those parents. And this is actually a role that one of the revenue streams is from our county partners to be able to, in collaboration with them, to be able to oversee and implement this program.
Okay, thank you very much.
Supervisor Haran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Chris. I have a few questions for you. The first one is, do we need to have a full-time employee for this position? That's number one. The next one is, Mandy has moved on to District 6, as I understand it. Are any of the counties that she's working in connected with the ones that you work within? Because you're talking about you and she both helped with the grandparent portion of the education here. That's the second one. The next one is, is this position being duplicated in another department? And just for clarification, as I understand it, the county board is actually fully funding this position. Am I correct about that? And finally, when might this person be active as far as being able to help the continuity of the Diversity Affairs Commission? So a bunch of stuff.
Kay, can you repeat question one? That was the one I missed.
Yeah, do we need a full-time employee for this position?
All right, great. So I'll answer those in order. So in the contracted services portion, the estimate for a full-time position is $98,500. So that is an estimate. And I need to include that estimate because with hiring a new individual, we have to, that includes our target salary, which we have a minimum target salary or a salary range that we need to meet to comply with our UW hiring guidelines. That also includes an assumption that the individual in that role will take that the university that will have to match all of the benefits that require an employer match. So we budget the full amount. I don't want to say it's the worst case scenario, but it is the highest amount possible. So one, it is possible after the hiring process that the individual, the total package may be less than the $98,500 that I have estimated for. And that would be directly reflected back to the county as far as the quote unquote bill or the invoice for the contracted services. One other thing to note is that that this is the amount for January 1 through December 30. And as it is fairly unlikely that we will have somebody on board on January 1, that amount would be prorated to match the amount of when the individual would actually begin their service. So if it happened to be on April 1, for example, because that's easy math and that's a 1/4 of the year with 75% of the year remaining, then that total amount would be invoiced at 75% in 2023, with then whatever the actual amount being in the full amount in 2024 and so on. So that's just a little bit of that. To answer full-time, so one of the things, it is possible that this position, and in fact, one of the the posting practices that we have done to help increase our pools is posting a range of an FTE that is between 0.8 and 1.0, and allowing to have some conversation that the candidate, identified candidate, may find or have a need or a want to have a 0.8 position. So if a 0.8 position would be the number based on the same estimate of the salary and the fringe benefits, would be, instead of 98,500, would be using the estimate of 83,625. So roughly $15,000 difference. So connection with Area 6. So the area that I work with, which is Area 10 and Area 6, do connect with each other. However, the direct connection to Winnebago County isn't quite as strong because that includes Oconto, Marinette, Shawano, and Menominee County Nation, and which does limit or impact the opportunity connect just because of the geographical divide. I do want to clarify that I have not been directly involved with the Grandparents Raising Grandchildren program, the administration or the offering of the program. That was Mandy, and utilizing the resources. We do have a part-time casual coordinator who assists with the with the coordination of resources. That individual in that position is included in this budget, which holds true to me being able to say that we are going to be able to offer some part of that program, just not knowing how deep it might be without the direct educator support. So the connection with Area 6, while there are ongoing conversations, it would be a little bit more challenging because of the geographic pieces. In response to the duplication, that is one of the things that we strive very hard because to ensure that there is not duplication and that we actually have magnification of our existing with their existing programs, including our existing resources and those resources that are available in existing groups and organizations within the county. So I would like to say that we are complementary. I do recognize that the title, the title of our position is Health and Wellbeing Educator, and that does create some confusion because there are health educators within the health department. Some areas where there might be some complementary action and connections is that by having a division of extension educator who is connected with university resources, there are oftentimes opportunities to engage with graduate students or campus-based researchers to be able to get additional university resources, whether it be to participate to help be part of a pilot or a new project to help inform or develop new approaches, but also then bringing the latest information and research to the individuals in Winnebago County so that it can be best used for the most positive impact. One of the greatest strengths, so I do so in addition to our educational programs, which in health and well-being, these are all evidence-based programs, a couple of them are extension specific. So that in one of them is a newer program that has not even yet been offered, which is We Cope, which is we connect with our positive emotions. So it's a program for adults who are managing high levels of stress and helping them through a 7-week course program to help have positive emotions as opposed to negative emotions. I think that's something that we can all agree, and that is an extension-specific program. But the biggest thing that we are able to do is we are connectors and actively part with our community. And one of the things that is to be able to help facilitate and engage in conversations and help connecting. Hey, I was in this space. Have you talked to this individual? And I recognize that those can happen. Those can and should happen. It just happens to be an area it can happen without extension present. It just happens to be an area that that's one of our niches, and that's what we do, and we provide opportunities to engage in those connections in addition to developing that local programming with an with education and evidence base behind it. So I think Kay, the fully funding, yes, this would be a fully funded position where the county would be responsible for the salary and fringe benefits, which I mentioned. We did have an opportunity to engage in a change, and there was an overall opportunity. So Todd Wenzel, who is the Human Development and Relationships educator, his position was fully funded, and we were able to convert that into a co-funded position, which is the $44,900 flat fee that has that is the fixed and is plannable for all parties. So essentially that's where some of the changes, kind of swapping those roles from fully funded to co-funded. And then when would somebody be available in this position? Probably, I know I threw out April 1 as a date for budget for like invoice example. Sometime in March and April would probably be very likely. And if the right candidate is employed and they need to give notice, then it could be a little bit longer or shorter than that, depending on their own professional situation that we might have to take into account.
Okay. Thank you so much for that explanation. That was huge for me. I have one more question for you, and it is, can you tell me how you have helped the Diversity Affairs Commission since that group reformulated in August?
So our department assistance has been very limited. Without that staff position to be able to provide that support, I recognize that much of that support has fallen on me, and it was nowhere near the amount that that Mandy was able to dedicate to that. So I do envision that based on that this position would be able to provide for sure educational support, and with moving forward, we would be able to I would be able to engage with members of the commission to then determine what are kind of create a playbook or a plan book of what does that support look like, and which county individual or group would be where they would go for for if X, then here's who you go to, that would be Y.
Thank you so much for your help.
Supervisor Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's been a lot of ground covered here. I just want to back up a little bit. There were some specific citations about helping grandmothers and some other tasks that this position has done in the past. If you could summarize in a minute or less, how does this position function in the community?
So this position functions within the community by focusing on local needs. Those local needs are determined by being an active member of coalitions or existing working groups. That could be, United Way, could be other focused working with potential schools and other. The Health Department and Human Services have been and are continue to be extension partners in thought, and that would continue. In the community, connecting organizations and groups to be able to work together towards those common mission and helping to identify what those might be. The other piece that this position would have the opportunity to aid in is to generate new funding opportunities and look for other resources to bring in to offer, to expand the offering of those programs. And another focus is on healthy eating and strong bodies and nutrition with our aging population and in our entire community. So it'd be engaging with food pantries and other groups and organizations that would be working with the area of food in the area of food security.
Does the person function in any way directly with residents?
Yes, that would be so that was the community aspect. There are the educational programs that are offered, and so there's two ways that those programs are offered. Some of them are train the trainer programs, where those community networks and organizations would have the opportunity to be trained. For example, the question QPR, question, persuade, refer is an adult suicide prevention training that is a train the trainer or train the participants. So that would be actively engaging. The We Cope that I mentioned was a stress management one that would be directly engaging with the community. Those educational or those nutritional resources might include one-on-one conversations at farmer markets or other places in which individuals with food security issues might be participating. In addition to a number of others that I'm probably forgetting. So there are direct connections to residents and community members.
Thank you. Do you have any data on what populations the position mostly serves, like what age groups, if it's rural, urban, a combination? Do you have any demographic information?
So I have access to that demographic information. I don't have it at my fingertips to be able to provide you, but I can at least say generally that when it comes to the area of mental health, both youth and adults are both target audiences. Have been a focus with the youth audience, and there's an opportunity to focus on to have continued focus when relating to mental health awareness and issues in our adult populations. The other piece is that we want to make reasonable access. We want to make access available to all the residents in the county, looking at the community. So working at ways to ensure that all of the residents have an opportunity to be aware of our programs and make sure that they have opportunities to participate in them.
Thank you. So if I said this is a position that really focuses on local needs in the county, serves as a connector between groups, organizations, and people, and as a relationship builder, also a direct educator for all ages and stages that uses evidence-based programs to improve the community. Would that be accurate?
That would be very accurate.
Thank you. I find that to be a worthwhile endeavor and one that should be funded by the county, and a person that's focused on lifelong learning, serving all ages and stages, and can really work to connect different organizations, groups of people, and even government in providing the services and that people need to improve themselves and improve their lives within Winnebago County, and all using evidence-based programs to get that done. And I would just like to add that I find it disingenuous for the sponsors of this amendment to hide behind the justification of a violation of the county executive's request for a levy target, when it was indeed the county executive's request that this be included in the budget, and encourage members to be honest in their motivations for such amendments. Thank you.
Supervisor Stara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to speak for myself as a signer on this. I am not hiding behind anything. I am not using this as a, anything against diversity. I signed this because, if you would please refer to page 33, the Winnebago County levy by division in thousands. As a licensed social worker and very involved in the community, I add in my mind the education, the 3.12%, the green, I add that with human services, that'd be about 34%. And then I look down at the light blue, public safety, which is 38%. We have very big needs right now, and I am not discounting the needs of suicide prevention and mental health for sure, but I really do appreciate Dr. Topol and all that's going on. I appreciate our corporate counsel and all that they're doing in the legal system, et cetera. Again, I signed this bill not with any ulterior motives other than to reduce big government in any way possible, to focus on what our needs are. I think of Aging and Disability Resource Center, ADVCAP, which is a community action program, behavioral health through human services, senior centers, Oshkosh rec departments, etc. I have participated in the programs, and I just ask that you would please support this. Thank you.
Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to vote against this. I couldn't understand how eliminating health and well-being was considered only a want and not a need. And I didn't understand not wanting to return that position, which the county executives wanted to put back in, until it became obvious that it apparently is about the diversity. And I also do not understand how people are against helping those who are disenfranchised. It doesn't diminish you in any way to help someone who doesn't have what you have. And when we talk about the grandparent program, when I spend time with my grandchildren, it's warm and cuddly and it's wonderful. You want to know how bad things are with that grandparent program? Ask Steve Binder about the worst Thanksgiving he ever had when he spent time with the Thanksgiving deal with the grandparents group. These are struggling people who need our help. Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This took some, for me, unexpected twists and turns. My biggest, from what I'm hearing, my biggest concern is I don't think this diminishes anything. I think it speaks more broadly to what I'm hearing. There is the help already available through the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm very concerned about creating so much overlap. I mean, for example, we've got amendment number 6 that's addressing part of this. There's discussion of creation of committee or a position with Department of Health as well. So I think I'm now in favor. I'm going to vote in favor because I think it's just creating too much overlap. It does not diminish or reduce the needs or wants that any kind of demographic will have. I think it's already there.
Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple questions. As I'm looking at the budget, I see that this line item for this department increased by 4%. Wondering, I guess, two questions. Wondering, did this department have any eliminations such as the eliminations we saw with the sheriff's office? Because public safety, public safety saw a 3% decrease in their funding. And I consider this is nearly $100,000. That's nearly one patrol officer. So I'm going back to my earlier comments of focusing on those essential services like public safety and highway, all of those types of things. So my question is, have we seen any of those types of elimination through attrition? And how can we support increases in this area and have decreases in our fundamental public safety? Thank you.
So I think I think this is the fourth budget that I've had the opportunity to submit. So I have, with the exception of, well, the budget that I have submitted has met the levy target in each of those cases. This is a case where I did submit a budget ad request outlining this position because the submitted budget, while meeting the levy limit target, did not have room to include this position in it. To that point, we have had so the reduction or the transitions that are happening is through attrition. So as our agriculture educator has when that individual departed in 2021, we are now looking at a regional approach. So we are need to share across counties. So that position will have Winnebago County as part of its geography, but now there is a 4-county and a 2-county position to meet those needs. The previous horticulture educator in last year's budget, the previous horticulture educator was a full-time position. That position is currently was currently at 0.8, so there was a reduction in order to in order to meet those to meet that budget levy limit, and are without the successful conversion of our financial security educator to a county funded position. There would have needed to be increased budget adjustments because that resulted in a significant savings that we were able to utilize elsewhere.
Supervisor Dowling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to comment on the position that was previously held by Mandy Dornfield and her role in helping the Diversity Affairs Commission. I just wanted to clarify something. Like all of our other employees, we really ask too much of them. And Mandy Dornfield, who previously held this position, did an amazing job. I'd argue not only that, she did the work of 2 people during the time. And as such, helping the Diversity Affairs Commission just fell through the cracks. The demands of the health and well-being educator are too overwhelming. It's just too overwhelming to help with the Diversity Affairs Commission. And I know Chris View's time also is stretched between so many other counties. So with that being said, I'm not sure anyone else could fill this position better than what Mandy Dornfield already did. So that's my last comment, and then I do see someone on Zoom. I don't know who District 16.
We got him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Challenger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's a lot of disingenuous conversation right now, particularly around the public safety budget. Let's be clear. The sheriff's budget, the levy, is going up $786,000. $786,000 of levy for the sheriff. And I think that's necessary. Yeah, we've cut positions in the sheriff's department. That's unfortunate. I think maybe if we had a Judiciary and Public Safety Committee resolution to address that, perhaps we would be able to get some of those positions that address critical public safety back into this budget. But for this issue, the sanctimonious conversation about raising the levy is a far cry from reality. The executive budget, the clerk, the administration, the clerk of courts, the sheriff, emergency management, airport, register of deeds, all of these departments are seeing an increase in their levy. Do we see amendments coming in on all of these to negate those levy increases? Of course not. Of course not. That's not what this is about. This is about taking services away because it is funding a diversity program that people don't like. We should reject this resoundingly. Thank you.
Supervisor Flom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a couple comments that I'd like to reiterate about why I wrote this. I'm not hiding from anything, and I'm not being disingenuous here. One of the things that I've noticed during this budget is I think we have a tendency to really forget who our bosses are, and that's the taxpayer. And kind of given the economic conditions that we are right now, we need to be in the mood of consolidation, not magnification. You know, mental health is extremely important. Suicide prevention is extremely important. Education is extremely important. But our largest department, our largest capital outlays, our largest staffing department has that infrastructure already set up in place there. This sounds like a job for human services. Director View has done an excellent job explaining what this position does, and it sounds like it should be housed within human services. We really need to live within our means on this one. And in my opinion, I think this is a position of excess. If we were in a good economic condition right now, I could say, fantastic, let's go ahead and do this. The motivation behind the amendment, in all honesty, the zero reference point, the zero levy limit reference is just that, it's a reference. We kind of have a tendency to forget as we sit in our silos that we have a fiduciary obligation to our constituents to live within our means. I'm sure on our committees, we want everything for all the departments within our jurisdiction to have the gold-plated top items we possibly have. And it's not reflecting the chief mandate of this budget session, which is to live within our means. And I think it's really disingenuous from Supervisors Schellinger and Nichols especially. I'm not advocating for any sort of dissolution of the Diversity Affairs Commission or whatnot. We're stretched thin as we are. Your bosses, your constituents are stretched thin as they are. It is a bad look and disingenuous in itself if you turn around and go back to them and say, yes, we're going to spend more on two duplicated positions that should be housed in human services because it makes us feel better about ourselves. So thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman, and I hope everybody votes yes.
Supervisor Bender. I don't know why it's not. Yours is the one that's not working, so.
I'll just tell you about my worst Thanksgiving. I showed up at that Thanksgiving dinner thinking it was going to be a pretty nice event. Well,
Let's just keep it to the subject so we don't, so.
The kids go in one room for Thanksgiving, and the parents or grandparents stay in another room. And one lady, her grandson was turning 18. She didn't know where he was going to get health care. You know, he has special needs. So she was trying to find out from other people how that, basically, they took care of that. Another one, the dad never seen the kid in 12 years. The mother was incarcerated, and the dad wanted to get the child from her. They were going to court. She didn't have money for an attorney, you know. So she was discussing with them how they handle a situation like that. Then another one's dying of cancer, and there's nobody to take her grandson, and she don't want to see him go into foster care. I mean, if you want to have a terrible Thanksgiving, just attend that meeting. I mean, when I left there, I was totally depressed, and I thought to myself, how lucky I am not to be in that situation. And that's what Mandy dealt with every month. So it's a position we need, and I hope you approve it.
Okay, not seeing any other lights. We'll vote on machine. Winnebago County Supervisor that hereby amends the 2023 Winnebago County budget so as to delete $99,500 from the 2023 budget of the University Extension Department for the purpose of eliminating county fund health and well-being educator position. Extension budget is a violation of the county executive's request for a levy target under the 2022 request. Seeing that this is not related to the public safety extension, should be brought more in line with zero net levy. So, if you're in favor of deleting 99,500, push A. If you're not, push nay. Supervisor Pohm.
Yes.
Supervisor Boehm.
Yes.
Me too, did you pack a lunch? Huh?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
I know what you're going to say.
I'm absent.
She is trying. Supervisor Eisen, give us a minute, please. He is absent now. And that is, the nays have it, 18, ayes is 16. So that failed. You got to remember, these girls are running all the machines up here. Give them a chance. $126.10.2022, Amendment 6, add a diversity consultant to University Extension to the Winnebago County of Supervisors. Be it resolved by the Winnebago County Board of Supervisors that hereby amends the 2023 Winnebago County General Budget so as to add $40,000 to the 2023 budget of the University Extension Department for the purpose of adding a consultant to help Diversity Affairs Commission perform their functions and help plan speakers and other activities. Supervisor Norton, I need a second on that first. Seconded by Nichols.
Motion to approve amendment number 6.
And it's been seconded by Supervisor Nichols.
Let me ask you this. I basically did this because someone encouraged me to do this because I think the Diversity Affairs Commission needs some guidance and help, and they haven't had that. I've just heard from Chris, and that with the position that we are keeping in the budget, that position could help with that, could help with the commission. So my question, this is for me, could I pull this now, or would I have to get the other 4 co-sponsors? And if I pulled it now, could I possibly bring it back later? That's my question.
All 4 of you that are on there would have to agree to pull it.
Okay, that's, like I say, that was my basic reason, because but I'll let the other 3 people speak. So that's my feeling. Thank you.
Okay, so unless all 4 of them wish to pull it,
I'm fine with that.
there we have the 4 that it is pulled. Resolution 126-10-2022, Amendment Number 7, add $100,000 to the Health Department budget for an additional funds from the MCH Maternal Child Health Grant to resume family and child health referrals with an approved staffing model. Be resolved, Winnebago County Supervisors, that it hereby amends 2023 Winnebago County General Budget so as to add $100,000 to the 2023 budget for the Health Department of the 24 Winnebago budget for the purpose of implementing parent resource hours with provide demental screening, car seat safety, breastfeeding support, vaccines, safe sleep, nursing expertise, health, and community resources. These funds will assist the health department in resuming family and child health referrals with a approved model. This model allows WCHD to serve more families using less staff in a variety of professions. This improves our capacity and adds greater time and value of our participation. Supervisor Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to approve amendment number 7.
And seconded by Supervisor Harrison.
I'm sure Doug can talk to us briefly. I will state that the reason this was not in the budget, because this and the other amendment we have came in after the budget was formulated. So like I say, it's revenue neutral, and it does increase our capacity to do things. If you have any questions, I'm sure Health Director Doug Gearing could answer them. Thank you.
Not seeing, oops, here's one. Supervisor Dowling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you just elaborate, how is this program different than the services offered through WIC?
WIC is primarily a nutrition education program, also a voucher program. This program really helps connect, works on mothers, young families, children, and addresses a lot of other issues besides nutrition. So safety, any, we have on your piece here, there's a whole list of the programs that are a part of it. It supports our walk-in hours, staff time, and equipment to really help young families succeed the best they can.
Wonderful, thank you.
Not seeing any other questions, I'm going to try it by voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Nay. We'll have to do a roll call. So you'll have to go on your machines. If you're in favor of adding $100,000 to the health department, signify by saying A. If you're against it, signify by saying nay. Supervisor Flom?
No.
Supervisor Beam?
Yes.
That passes 19 to 16.
Thank you.
Resolution 126-10-2022, amendment number 8. Add $82,000 to the Health Department budget for public health infractions funds from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, whereby the Winnebago County Board of Supervisors hereby amends the 2023 Winnebago County General Budget so as to add $82,000 to the 2023 budget of Health Department for the purpose of strengthening critical public health infractions needs, including workforce, foundation capabilities, and data modernization, and to be ready to respond to public health emergencies and meet the evolving complex needs of the community we serve. Supervisor Norton.
Motion to approve amendment number 8.
Seconded by Supervisor Harrison.
And like the previous one, it's revenue neutral, coming from Wisconsin Department of Health Services, and it came in after the budget was formulated. So any questions, Doug Gearing could answer them. Thank you.
Not seeing any questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Nay. We'll go by machine just to make sure. Supervisor Fulham?
No.
Supervisor Beam?
Yes.
And that passes 18-17. Resolution number 12610, 2022, amendment number 9, purpose to amend increased tax levy to $71,302,350 from $71,052,350 to utilize the full levy limits, decreasing unassigned general fund applied by $250,000 to the Winnebago County Board of Supervisors. Be it resolved, the Winnebago County Supervisors that hereby amends the 2023 Winnebago County General Budget for the purpose of utilizing full levy limits of $71,302,350 as opposed to $71,052,350 proposed to the 2023 execution budget. The difference of $250,000 will be shown as less unassigned general fund balance applied on page 24, significant information 2023 page. Supervisor Bender, we'll see if we can get your,
I'll move amendment number 009.
and it's seconded by Supervisor Powers.
I'd just like to say that basically, you know, inflation this year was 8.7%. Our budget last year was around $180 million. So that means that we had to come up with, just keep what we had, around $17 million. This net new construction is about $900,000. And we gave all the net new construction last year to the Sheriff's Department, plus $100,000 of this year. So we're taking over $4 million out of a reserve to balance this budget this year. So how can we not tax the $900,000 when we don't have enough money right now to even pay for this year's budget without going into the reserves of $4 million some odd dollars, which eventually is going to run out? You know, I just think it's necessary to basically make every effort to cover as much of this budget as we can without going into our reserves. Eventually it runs out and there will be no reserves, and we'll have to raise taxes or find a way of even cutting more employees. So I urge everybody to support this. It amounts to about $1.50 per taxpayer. You know, it's a cup of coffee is what we're going to give them back. It's almost, you know, when you think of it, it's a joke. We're going to give you a cup of coffee, but we're, you know, it's $250,000. It's no amount of money in a tax break. Thank you.
Vice Chairman Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I must speak against this. I understand the strategy of the county executive. What's happening here is he's not taking all of the net new construction. That doesn't mean you lose it. You still can apply that funding to the next budget or the one after. I think it goes out 3 years or 5 years where you can utilize it. And the other thing is, as was indicated, this would increase the mill rate by about 2 cents, 2.5 cents, 1,000 of assessment. So if you got a $100,000 home, I don't know if that's $1.50, but I suggest most homes are like 400,000, so it's probably going to be much more than that. The other thing is they've already calculated in your budget book the assessment or the assignment to each municipality in the county, including the 15 towns. If you change this particular item, that has to be all redone, and each town and municipality will be paying more to support the county budget. So I appreciate the effort, but I don't think it's necessary. So I will oppose this.
Supervisor Hens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe somewhere along, one of our supervisors along the line made a comment about spending like drunken sailors. And as somebody who was in the Navy, I once was one of those drunken sailors, and even we knew you needed to save some money for the ride home. Just because we can spend it doesn't mean we need to spend it. There's a reason that the money was set aside. I think Vice Chairman Ferry expounded on that quite well, took a lot of my thunder away. So I will just let it rest at that. Thank you.
Supervisor Defferting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be voting against this as well. There was a lot of spending bills that we voted on over the last year, over the last 2 years. A lot of stuff that we're spending quite a bit of money on, And of course, we can, we have certain things that we're budget conscious on, and we all have our pet projects, and I get that. But we spent a lot of money just as a county as a whole over the last year or two. Furthermore, we just voted to accept a bunch of money from the United States government. It's not like we're going to be short on any cash here. So I find this to be rather ridiculous. I'm going to be voting no.
Supervisor Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like Mr. Collier to please comment on the comments that Supervisor Farley made, because I was under the understanding that if we don't do this fully, that this hurts us next year in what we get from the state or somehow. So that's my question. Does that, by us not doing it fully, does that not hurt us for next year's budget? Because a very authority, I'll say the former county executive said that does hurt us, and that's what I want to answer.
No, there was a law change on that, and we did look into that, and I do agree with Supervisor Ferry's comment that if we don't tax the full amount on the levy cap this year, I believe we have 5 years in which we could claw that back. We'd lose the money for 2023, but we wouldn't lose we wouldn't lose levy cap. We could reinstate that in future years for a certain period.
Supervisor Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I always like to talk about what this means in real dollars to folks. And I asked this question of Director Collard before we started the meeting today because I saw this amendment. And I picked a $200,000 home. I don't know what the median home value is in Winnebago County, so I just picked a $200,000 home. And if this amendment were to pass, what would that mean in dollars and cents to an owner of a $200,000 home?
Yeah, I did the math. I figured it'd be about, I have this right, $28.
$28.
A little under $30
Okay.
per year for $200,000
And
equalized
if that's
value.
a $400,000 home, does that equal $60 then?
All proportional based on equalized value, yes.
Okay. So going with my original number, a $200,000 home, $30 for the whole year, that's $1 a month. You put that out over 365 days, it comes to pennies. It's a steak dinner on a Friday night. One steak dinner. That's what it means. So I think that is manageable for a taxpayer in Winnebago County and something that should be considered. It's important to use the levy available. Did I hear correctly that it was $900,000 that was allowable this year as an increase?
About right. I think it was a little under 900,000, but just going from memory.
All right. And for all that new construction, they should pay their fair share and not be subsidized by those of us who have been paying our taxes right along. Thank you.
Supervisor Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just say that not every resident can afford a steak dinner every Friday. So there are a lot of people that are hurting right now. There are a lot of people that I know that are struggling to put the regular food on their table. So I think any little bit helps. And I just want to reiterate Supervisor Defferding's comment. We have $33 million that we have to figure out what we're going to do with. $33 million. I think we have enough money to shore up any gaps. So I would urge not to further increase any taxes on our citizens for this next year. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any lights on.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more. I have a comment.
Sorry, Supervisor Flom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to echo what Supervisor Stafford said. The amount looks small, but we always say, hey, it's just a drop in the bucket here, a drop in the bucket there. It's a couple cents here, it's a couple cents there. It all adds up in dollars and cents. At the end of the day, doing this little by little will increase the tax burden over and over and over again. So I can't support this right now, and I urge people to vote it down.
Supervisor Hintz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate some of the things that were said here and remind everybody that it might only be $30, but that's $30 that the taxpayers worked for, that they earned, and that they deserve to be able to decide what to do with, because we have a budget that didn't need this $250,000 in it. And in any small way that we can alleviate the tax burdens, that's what we should be doing if we can. And we had it here right in front of us. So we don't need to alter what's going on, because everybody worked hard for their money. And until those taxes are actually paid, it's the taxpayers' money. And we're voting on taking some more of their tax money with this. So I will definitely be against this.
Supervisor Bender.
I would just say, I would agree with you if we were balancing the budget. We're not balancing the budget. We're taking over $4 million out of the reserve fund. So we don't have a balanced budget without going into our reserves. So that there's not a surplus of money. One way or the other, they're gonna pay it. Maybe not this year, but they'll be paying it back in a couple other years, because we can't produce a product here. We don't make money. We basically get money from taxpayers. So there's no way of balancing our budget. This year, we're gonna take $4 million out of our budget. Next year, maybe it'd be $6 million. But eventually, the budget, there will be no reserve, and we're gonna have to get it all from the taxpayers. So they can basically pay a little bit this year or pay a lot more in the future.
Supervisor Schellinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am wondering if Mr. Collard could tell us what the mill rate would be if this were accepted and we raised the levy $250,000. Is that easy enough to figure out?
Well, I've done that calculation. It would be a little less than a cent and a half. 1.488 cents.
What would that make for the total? Oh, I'm sorry.
That would be the mill rate, 1.48 cents per thousand.
And so that would be added to the 4.23 that we're at per thousand right now, right? And so we would still be about 40 cents lower on the mill rate than we were in 2022 if we accept this.
Not 40. We're currently 37 cents under the mill rate, but it would still be substantially under the mill rate, yes.
Substantially under the mill rate, yeah. I mean, that looks like, roughly about an 8% decrease in the mill rate, even if we add this $250,000 of levy in. I'm going to support this. I think, we are continuing to reduce the mill rate. That's the number that I think is more important. It looks at the value or what our budget is compared to the value in our county, and accounts for the growth that we have. If we have more people, if we have more construction, if we have more things that need to get done, of course we're going to need to spend more money. So looking dollar for dollar without accounting for that growth doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think we should be more focused in looking at the mill rate. The mill rate still decreases by a substantial amount under this budget. Thank you.
Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to vote in favor of this, and I don't remember if it was Supervisor Dowling or Nichols who talked about the steak dinner. She said she was talking about one steak dinner one weekend out of the year, not steak every night or steak every week. One steak dinner, one weekend out of the year. Thank you.
Supervisor Norton.
My question to Mr. Collard, if we got this extra $250,000 with this passes amendment, where would that go, can I ask?
Well, it would be allocated to expense in the budget that is currently covered by unassigned general fund balance.
So possibly we could hire 2 more patrol officers, right? Because I heard the figure of $100,000, and that could help public safety. So there's an ideal. So, okay, thank you.
Supervisor Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sitting here thinking, where does this stop? If the county executive, with his budget brought forward, believed that this would be an appropriate amount to leave off, that we wouldn't need to tap into and provide the relief to the taxpayer, I'm going to take his word on this one. And looking at our budget, look at the last 3 resolutions that we just passed that equate to the amount that we're asking for. So when it comes to an issue of asking for all this additional money, when we already have a spending problem, when does it stop? And I'm sick and tired of it, so thank you.
Supervisor Nelson.
Yeah, one concern, it's $30 for a house, $200,000 house. My businesses are such that I have a lot of money invested in real estate. One of my businesses was shut down for a significant time during the pandemic. We're struggling to get back on our feet. This will cost me $750, okay? You can buy a lot of steak for $750. We don't even know if it's necessary. Our executive didn't think it had to be in there. Not everybody only has a $200,000 house. There's a lot of businesses out there that are struggling and they have huge investments in their business. It certainly hits them hard too.
Supervisor Cox.
I look at this and think, oh, we're going to practice cutting the levy, decreasing the levy, or increasing the levy. We can practice getting ready to pay higher taxes, or we can practice maybe putting money into increasing the levy. It just, little by little, at $1.50 a share. No, I'm not going to vote for this. I'm sorry.
Supervisor Haran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to say that, yes, this is not a huge amount of money potentially that is being requested of the community of Winnebago County. But when you look at the increases across the board that have happened over the last several years, that is significant. The inflation rate is 8+% right now. So when you go to the grocery store, you're paying more money. When you go out to dinner, you're paying more money. When you go to the gas station, you're paying more money than we used to pay. Hey, it's not a huge amount of money, but every little bit counts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, nuts. Oops. Supervisor Wise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure how to frame this, but my question to Mr. Pollard is, every time we take $1 million out of the general fund, at what point does the bond ratings, does that change our bond rating? And we're talking about taking $4 million out right now, I believe it was. Is that going to change it? And yeah, this is only $250,000, but yeah, it's real money. So at what point is the threshold where we could be looking at a worse bond rating and higher interest rate?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked that. I obviously can't give you a specific answer. Here's exactly, where the general fund has to be to avoid affecting our bond rating. We currently have the highest bond rating we can, as a practical matter, achieve in Winnebago County, AAA1. There are 3 or 4 counties maybe that have a AAA rating, which is the only higher possible rating, and our tax base essentially doesn't allow us to achieve that rating. But we've been in discussions recently with people from Moody's and our consultants and advisors for bonding, and one of the things they're very sensitive to is not just what is our fund balances, but are the fund balances growing, contracting, decreasing, or staying the same? So that is one of the most important things they look for. If our fund balances start to shrink as a trend, that will definitely affect our bond rating pretty soon. Now, right now, this budget, I don't think is in danger of doing that, but I think we're taking about as much from fund balances as I can recommend without, losing some sleep over, are we cutting too much and will we get ourselves in trouble? So this budget would put our general fund unassigned balance within the target range of our investment or our fund balance policy. But to go below, much below that, would raise a little bit of a red flag, especially if it's done to pay for ongoing expenses that will be harder to recover. So right now, essentially, we've been looking for one-time projects and trying to reduce the fund balance that way is primarily what we've done, reduced our bonding amounts and so forth, and paid for some other projects, such as the morgue and 980 housing are being paid directly from the fund balance as one time, because they're one-time projects. That'll help us get within our limit. But if we start to see his trend, so I'm pretty comfortable where the budget is. But we have added some to that, and I can't give you a precise answer, but it is definitely something we should be concerned about, or if we're going to take another $1 million out or so, we can do it, but we'll start to worry.
Thank you for that. I don't know if I have I still have some time left here. What concerns me is that if we start this, where does this stop on that? It could end up costing us more. We're on amendment number 9 of 15. I don't know what's left in the rest of this yellow stack. How much more is going to be taken from the general fund if the rest of them pass? But this really concerns me an awful lot, that we're not doing a service to our residents by not taking this other $250,000. So I'm going to vote for this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Cox.
This is my second time.
Second time, correct.
Just a little at a time, and getting started on levy limits and increasing the levy. Where is our undesignated fund right now, Mike? And with that, do we have a percentage at which we will not go below? I mean, we're playing around with levy is not really, to get into that practice is not a good thing.
The projected unassigned general fund balance at the end of the year is $33,849,000. So the fund balance policy would call for a unassigned fund balance in the range of up 16 to 20% of ongoing expenses, which our calculations put at, well, it said the 20% was a little over 30 million. So we're a couple $1 million above that right now.
Yeah.
That's before the 2023 budget, of course, which is projected to reduce that amount by several millions. What is it, someone said 4.3 million, which sounds right to me without looking it up. So that would still put us within the 16 to 20% range and toward the upper end of that range, which is really where I think we need to be to avoid looking like a downward trend.
Tell me this, what is our policy on a rainy day fund that at the end of a budget year, our rollover, we take a certain amount and we put it into that rainy day fund and not to touch it? What kind of a policy do we have at that now?
Well, I'm not sure that we really have.
It shows you're on, but is it on now?
There you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have exactly what you might call a rainy day fund. I think the unassigned general fund balance is our rainy day fund, the primary one. There are some other specific funds that are used in the sense of rainy day funds, perhaps, in particular areas, but we're trying to more or less consolidate those into the general fund where it makes sense to do that. Human services, for instance, might have a rainy day fund, but they're not part of the general fund. It's a special revenue fund. So most of the county's emergency needs would be met out of that unassigned general fund balance. So that's what I would consider the rainy day fund.
As we go forward, do we have any plans to have a kind of rainy day fund that we can roll over the balances from the previous year, roll it over into that rainy day fund? Do we have any kind of a policy that we can do that with, or can we make a policy to do that? Can we write an amendment to make a policy and do that? That's where we're at. I don't see playing with levy limits to see where we can get rid of money. It's going to help any.
I don't think establishing a new carryover fund would be, a budget item. I think it would be accomplished through a separate county board resolution, and, obviously we'd have to look at what type of a fund you have in mind and what the purposes of it would be specifically. Otherwise, is it going to, funds that roll over are generally allocated for particular purposes. Otherwise, they're unassigned. So the only way we could do a separate fund is to have a particular purpose for it, to cover certain kinds of expenses. The technology replacement fund would be an example of a rainy day fund. So we have some money set aside in a rollover fund there to pay for replacement of laptops and routers and other things that are needed because they vary quite a bit from year to year what is actually spent. So we can assign more money to funds like that for particular purposes.
My fear is that at some point in time, we're going to have another 2007. Something is going to crash, or something is going to get broken in the general finances of things, and we're going to have to be looking at a rainy day fund somewhere, and without preparing, this isn't a good answer. I'm sorry.
Supervisor Eisen.
I call the question.
The question has been called. I don't see any second.
Somebody second.
Second.
Seconded by Supervisor Wise. Yes. So now we're just voting on the call the question. If you're in favor of it, signify by saying aye. There's not aye, push your button, whatever. Supervisor Flom?
Aye.
Supervisor Boehm?
Yes.
And that has passed. The question has been called. Now we're back to the general. We'll vote on machines again. This will be if you're in favor of amendment increase tax levy of $71,302,350,000 from $71,052,350 to utilize the full levy limit, decreasing unassigned general fund applied by $250,000. Vote A. If you're against it, vote nay. Supervisor Flom?
No.
Supervisor Boehm?
No.
And the nays have it 25-10. Okay, we're through 9, going into 10. And it's 12:26. Do you want to get a roll and keep going, or do you want to break for lunch? Okay. Okay, they want a roll call vote. Go on, machine. Let Julie get it up here. Those that want to keep going will vote A, and those that want to stop for lunch will vote nay when she gets it ready here. Pardon? Right, if they want to keep going, it'll be A or I. Yes. It would be short, it'd be like a half hour if you're just going to get a roll or something like that, correct? Half hour, so. This is, right now, we're just voting if you want to take a lunch break. Keep going, right, I'm sorry, I apologize. Good thing you caught me. If you want to keep going, vote A. If you want to break for lunch, vote nay. And if we vote A, you'll be able to go get a roll or whatever, so. If A will mean that you'll keep going. Nay will mean that you want to break for lunch. Supervisor Flom? I think he's gone for lunch.
No.
Supervisor Boehm?
Yes.
So we're going for lunch.
So that means
So
we're
we'll be
break.
going for lunch. It's 12:28. Can you all get it done in a half hour? 45 minutes. We'll start again at 12:15 or
1:15.
1:15. I'm sorry, 1:15. 1:15. We're going to start again. I never saw such a-
The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule